Get ready for 2 hours of hard-hitting football talk, straight from their jocks about the jocks. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Football on the Know. I am Jim McPhee. Alongside of me is Mr. Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, Autos? Welcome back for another edition of Football on the Know Show. We are ready to go. We locked and loaded as usual. And guess what? We have a Super Bowl champion, everybody.
Woo!
Congratulations to
How
the
about
Los
that?
Angeles Rams for pulling it out in the end and getting the W, hoisting the Lombardi Trophy. Excellent job, boys. It was a great game. I really did enjoy it. I don't know if you have the same sentiment, but
Oh, I hated it. It was terrible. No.
but I'll tell you right now, the playoffs were exciting. They were back and forth. They were very competitive. And then you had the Super Bowl, which it could have went a lot of different ways. We all know that. But it could have went one way, like real heavy to the Rams. They could have blown out the Bengals. And who knows, maybe the Bengals could have surprised the Rams and kind of taken over. But in the end, it was a very good, hard-fought game from both teams. And we got to witness a phenomenal Super Bowl.
All right, we have Tom Leiter is in the house with us tonight. He's in there early.
He doesn't approve.
He's saying boo. Yeah, man, he doesn't like it. I know why is because the NFC West team won. The Rams.
Exactly,
I know he didn't want that, but
he's a Seahawks fan.
Seahawks fan. Absolutely, Tom. It's a pleasure having you in there. We're having a lot of fun. It is the recap after the Super Bowl. It is the drinking show. So here's my drink.
Punishment
right here.
time.
My punishment. I am drinking this thing. I'm about halfway done so far, but it's gonna get fun. You'll slowly see the difference in the transition that'll happen with me tonight. So let's have some fun with it. It's gonna be.
Maybe we should have switched seats for this episode.
Yeah, maybe we'll see. We'll see if the graphics get crazy. You know what it's for. But
anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, the game ended up being pretty defensive in the beginning too. I mean, it was really tight. And the Rams strike first, and you're looking at it, and it's OBJ. And this is the
You're
thing.
like, oh,
too.
here it goes.
Here it goes. I mean, and this is what I thought too. That's why when I was on our Godzilla Media official pregame show that day of Super Bowl Sunday, I had said, you know what? I'm picking Odell Beckham Jr. as my MVP. I think he's going to play well here. They're going to double up on Cooper Kupp, and it was going to look good. And it was starting to trend that way. But then he tears the ACL there, on that one freakish happening, with the play there. He was wide open. But again, started off really. They strike first, and then the Bengals again seemed like it was tough, trying to deal with that defense. But they're able to run, and they're able to get down downfield a bit and get down there, and they pull out the old. They're the first team out of these two teams in the Super Bowl to pull out the trickery and do the old halfback pass.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Is like when we were doing that the Godzilla Media Super Bowl special. Gaz asked you a slightly different question than he asked me. He didn't even give me the option to pick Odell. He was like, besides Odell, Cooper Kupp, you know what I mean? Who do you think is going to be? So I went with Joe Mixon, and Joe Mixon would have had a great Super Bowl had they stuck with the run game. And just like I was saying, we're even sprinkle him in the receiving game, dump it off to him in the flat and let him run with it. And we didn't see enough of that from the Bengals. I feel like if the Bengals did that more often and kind of stuck with that running game, which was working, then they might have been able to be crowned champs, as we sit here today. So I loved the game. There was definitely some controversial plays that we're going to get to, but nonetheless, I feel like this was a well-played game from both sides. The rest, for the most part, early on in the game, just let them play. They weren't trying to throw flags. They didn't want to be part of the deciding factor. They waited until the fourth quarter to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. We got Mike Tackett in the house with us tonight. The good news. He goes, good news. A team not named the Buccaneers or Chiefs won. The better news, football starts back up in April with the USFL. The best news, the goddamn Jets still suck. There you go. Yeah.
Fatality.
There you go.
What's up, Mike?
Yeah,
Welcome
absolutely.
to the show, brother.
Is that the best news? I don't know about that because again, everybody knows the Jets suck. So I mean, that means that we'd be getting the best news all the time. But But
yeah.
the better news should be the best news. You know what I mean? It starts back up in April with the USFL.
Yep.
But then also around that time, it's around draft time. And then you're going to be doing free agency and all that stuff and things. So that's
free agency is going to be real
get
exciting.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. A lot of stuff to talk about. And baseball's screwing it all up right now. You know, they're screwing up with negotiations and all that stuff like that. So they might not even be playing by then too. So it would be hilarious, man, how these other sports still end up screwing things up and football is still there to reign supreme.
Right. And that's why we stick with football. Because not only do we have a passion for this game, but this is always exciting. 365 days a year, you know what I mean? This never stops. There's always rumors, there's news to report, and a lot of things that are happening in transactions.
Yeah, we got Dave Rourke in the house with us too.
What's going on, Dave? Welcome to the show.
Everybody's showing up. I love it. I'm having a lot of fun.
But hey, listen.
Let's go Giants.
There we go. Have a drink. If you're new to the show, and you want to become part of our Know-It-All family, feel free to do so. Hop over on Facebook or YouTube. You can search us up on Football on the Know Show, become a member on Facebook, a Know-It-All, or you can hop over on YouTube. Same search, hit the subscribe button to lock yourself in as a Know-It-All, hit the notification bell to let you guys know when we go live. Also, you can follow us on Twitter at FB_know, and we are everywhere you get your podcast. So if you're a podcasting juggernaut and that's what you like to do, feel free to do so. Follow us on anywhere you get your podcasts.
Absolutely. So, you talked about Joe Mixon again, able to run the ball, and you would have thought that the Bengals would have ran the ball some more, because they were doing it effectively. And what better than to try and do that and keep the pass rush off of what they were doing with Aaron Donald. But altogether, I think their offensive line was able to contain Aaron Donald for a long time with the doubles, but then every now and then you would get some of the other guys, Jones and even Von Miller got a sack, totaling 7 sacks again. This offensive line now, if you count the playoffs with the regular season, gave up 70 sacks right there to Joe Burrow. I mean, that's going to be rough. And you talk about the up-and-coming player that he is and how great he is, that can be really nipped in the bud if he gets injured constantly.
He's not going to last long if he keeps that up.
You saw it there. He does have the knee injury after it's all said and done, and you can't get that. You can't have that happen, especially with the talent that you have right there with him.
Definitely.
But as the game carries on again, that's where you start to see kind of the back and forth of the offense of the Rams kind of stalling out. They're getting pressured too. At times, it seemed like the Bengals defense was the stronger defense, and that offensive line of the Rams were struggling, and Matthew Stafford was getting pressured all the time, just because they shut down the run. Cam Akers couldn't go anywhere.
Dimensional.
Yeah, Cam Akers wasn't doing anything. Wasn't doing squat. So all you do is go after Stafford, and what did he do? You said you're going to give him one, but he gave him a few on that one. He wanted to point down, air it out, through that interception in the end zone. I think it was going to Van Jefferson, and it made a few mistakes in there.
Poor decision.
And again, almost gave him back that game. But I think you talked about plays that people want to discuss or be arguing about, the calls. First, you got to bring up, I guess, Joe, what about the non-face mask call? We just got to bring it out there.
Yeah. I mean, and that was the play where they had T. Higgins running down the sideline. And, Ramsey was in coverage. Ramsey thinks he's the best corner, and a lot of people
a few times.
And a lot of people claim him to be this number one corner in the NFL. But I'm sorry, this season especially, I'm just not seeing it. He's been cooked by more than a handful of wide receivers out there. So going down the sideline, Ramsey was covering T. Higgins, but something that didn't get called, that was just right out in the open. I mean, absolutely amazing to me that no ref threw a flag on this. But T. Higgins, noticed the ball was going to be behind his, on the back shoulder type of throw. So as Ramsey's pursuing him on his hip, he reaches over, grabs his face mask, little slight tug, and then with his other arm, it just gives him a little nudge on his left hip to kind of like really kind of put him right out of the picture. Stops, catches the ball, and then continues on into the end zone. To my amazement, no flags were thrown at all. And if this is the Super Bowl that we were watching from kickoff to now, I was like, well, it's no holds barred. It's, everyone's out for themselves. You can do whatever you want. This is going to be one of the most physical type of melees there is. And no call at all. I was actually kind of surprised. I thought for sure that it was definitely going to be called, at least the face mask, because the little shove on the hip wasn't really noticeable for the referees. So he got away with that one. But, wow, I cannot believe he got away with the face mask, to say the least.
Absolutely. We've got Stephen Bukkake in the house with us tonight, too, as well.
What's going on, Steve?
And he says here, let's look at that comment quick. He says,
I know that face
Gary
mask. Come on.
Yeah, and Gary must be loving life, Joe. Ha ha.
That's right. Yeah, Gary is a Rams fan. Congratulations, Gary. Your boys did it. And Matt Stafford gets one, So Matt Stafford gets his chip, and, that brings to the question that everybody's asking right now is like, okay, if Stafford was to retire tomorrow, is he Hall of Fame worthy? I don't think the chip, cements you for being in the Hall of Fame. To me, like, I know you feel the same way, Jim, that no matter how many Super Bowls you win, that's like a team stat. Everybody put their heart and soul to get to that championship and to win it, so to hoist the Lombardi Trophy. So I just don't consider that part of like the individual accomplishment, if you will. So it's great. He won a chip now finally. He got out of Detroit, came to L.A., and in one season he's a champion for the Rams. So do I think he's Hall of Fame worthy? Yes. If you look at his stats and what he's been able to do, there's been several milestones that Matt Stafford alone has done, mostly in Detroit, actually, with a terrible team, with no offensive line, with lack of weapons. I mean, yeah, everyone's going to bring up Calvin Johnson. I get that. His tenure when he was with Stafford was phenomenal. But take a look around them. It was just those two. No tight end really to help him out. No running backs at that time. No offensive line really to help out. So, and defense was atrocious. So for him to be able to do what he could and to upset at times the Chicago Bears and to upset once in a while the Green Bay Packers, for him to accomplish what he did in Detroit is truly amazing. And that to me, and he's in I think he's the top 12 maybe quarterback in all time, or top 15, something like that. But he's an amazing quarterback. Yeah, you're going to pick on him for the interceptions and stuff, but I'm sorry. Phillip Rivers had an amazing career as well, so they both deserve to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he's 11th in completions, 12th in yards, 12th in touchdowns, and that's just in career yards. If you look at Hall of Famers, just by themselves, he's 5th. So there you go. Yeah. So I mean, if he was put in the Hall of Fame, he would be 5th in yardage right now, right there. So I mean, that's something to be looked at. I agree with you as well. I'm not so much of a person to be like, oh, well, look at how many wins they got, and look at this, and the championships. That's again, like you said, it's a team sport. Those are team accomplishments. That's why when you talk about Tom Brady, you can see what he does on the field. You know he's the field general. He knows what he can do to get the job done. We understand that too. But if you want to bring up things about so many playoff victories and so many this and that, whatever, that in AFC, East championships, I'm like, who cares? That's a team thing. A lot of times in those championships that he had, those defenses were good. You forget that Bill Belichick is a defensive mastermind too. So you got to keep that into play too, and they can't do it all on their own. If you want to do that, then you can all of a sudden say that he's just as much to the one to blame for their losses that they had. You know what I'm saying? So, and I don't do it at that. You don't hear people say that most of the time either.
Right.
Like, when they lost against the Giants, it was Tom Brady's fault. Absolutely. He lost the game for them. You know what I mean? They don't go that route.
Yeah.
But anyways, we got Tom Leiter in the house with us.
He's got a question
tonight. He says, "Do you mention Aaron Donald up there with LT, Bruce Smith, and Reggie White as one of the greatest defensive players ever?" Now, I think he's up there in the elite echelon. It's tough for me though too, because I think LT. I don't know. He's the best for me, but that's the thing. Yeah,
by himself would just take over games. Reggie White. Seen as one of the most fierce and greatest D tackle / D ends there ever was. He was absolutely amazing. He's another guy that would take over games. Bruce Smith would do the same thing. So, I mean, you're listing a lot of these greats, and it's like right now, do you consider Aaron Donald one of those type of players? I will say no, and my reason is this: those guys. It didn't matter what time of year it was. It didn't matter what down it was. It didn't matter how great of an offensive line they faced. Mm-hmm. They still took over the game. Offenses had to plan literally for just them. Not so much for the rest of their defense, but a lot for them. And yeah, I get it. Offenses now do plan for Aaron Donald. They do worry about him. And how can you not? Mm-hmm. However, my problem with Donald in this whole discussion of eliteness and everything is I think he's a phenomenal player. He is an absolutely great player now. However, is he that type of player like where you could put him up with an LT, with a Reggie White? I don't think so just yet. I think he needs to play a little bit longer. I think he needs to show longevity. And this is kind of the thing that goes with the Hall of Fame talk. Is you got to have, to me, my opinion is like you have to have a decent enough sized career and the production and stats put behind all that for a longer term than a lot of these guys that end up ending their careers earlier, short. So if you're able to achieve greatness for a long time, for 7 years, 8 years, and really didn't dip off at all, and then you decide to retire. Yeah, I think then you could make that debate about him being as good or close to these all-time greats. But as of right now, I just don't think so. I think he's more than dominant. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. He's a phenomenal D tackle. He had 12 sacks this year, for crying out loud. Mm-hmm. D tackles aren't supposed to have double-digit sacks. They're not. So he is truly an amazing athlete, an amazing defensive lineman. But as of right now, to me, he just hasn't had a long enough career because I think if he does, like we heard the rumor, like after the Super Bowl, if they win, he's going to retire, and that kind of those kind of rumors started swirling around. We still don't know yet what's going to be the official word. I expect him to come back. I think it would be crazy.
Well, yeah, he said like at the parade he's ready to run it back or whatever.
But I think it would be crazier for him to cut his career short because he's on track to be considered one of these elite, maybe even better than them, because all-time great. He's on track right now, and he's doing it at such an early stage in his career that he could end up being the number one all-time D tackle in the history of the NFL with all his crazy sacks and tackles and everything. So
really nice.
Dominating player, but as of right now, this second, I cannot put him up there with guys like LT, Bruce Smith, and Reggie White.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I can agree with you at that point. But again, I think right now we're just witnessing of a different type of D tackle that's like I said, ultra elusive. Super athletic, able to get there to get the sacks, but also stop the run, threatening in all phases. So I think when it's all said and done, and he is able to retire, and we take a look back at his career, that's when we'll be able to evaluate really what type of guy he is. But really, we just got to soak it in right now and enjoy what he's doing because it is something spectacular. It is something different. But I agree with Joe at 1.2 because he is getting double teamed and still getting stopped at times, but still able to make some pressure here and there. The other guys also, there was a game plan to stop them too, but you just didn't. You weren't able to do it, and that's what type of players they were too as well. So I mean, and Tom Leiter says second tier with Sapp, Strahan, and such. I say he's above Sapp. Above Strahan as well, I think, too, even though I'm a Strahan fan. He's above there, too, as well. Like I said, when it's all said and done, we're going to take a look at it, and then I think we can really appreciate what he has brought into the game, absolutely, and what he has done. But right now, again, I say he's in the conversation. I give it the conversation, absolutely. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us tonight. It is our last show until we come back after a little break, so we're having a lot of fun. It's the Super Bowl is over. I'm drinking. I'm serving my punishment. Here we go. So, all right. It's like, dude, there's like half a bottle of vodka in here. This is crazy. There's a lot. All right. So you guys keep sending the comments. We really appreciate it out there. And we love being interactive.
Tom says drink.
You gotta do that
drink.
all the time. All right.
Drink. There you go. Attaboy, Tom.
All right. So what were you getting to? Okay. We had brought up the face mask. Everybody agree with that, how egregious it was, right? Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right, here we go.
Mikey chimes in.
Let's go back here on Aaron Donald then, I guess. All right, I believe Aaron Donald was great for a period of time, but in my opinion, that does make him the best of the best. That doesn't make him the best of the best.
I should probably read.
You should. I was just thinking the same thing. You should maybe read pretty soon.
So I'm gonna read now.
All right, take over.
I believe Aaron Donald was great for a period of time, but in my opinion, that doesn't make him the best of the best. You just changed screens on me.
Yeah, but it's right there. It says when he's on the level of Sapp,
when he's on the
John
level
Randall,
of Sapp, John Randall, Cortez Kennedy, and Alan Page, then we can talk about Canton.
Well, that's what I mean. When is he on that level?
We got to see that longevity.
We got to see. I don't know. Yeah.
I still consider him a very dominant D tackle, especially.
Right.
I mean, it's not common to find a D tackle that can get double-digit sacks.
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane.
Right.
Normally, a D tackle on average, if they're having a good year, it's like 5 sacks. You know what I mean? Maybe 6. It's not crazy. Definitely not double digits.
Yeah, so I mean, what we really see when we see this type of thing is when we start looking at the Hall of Fame, when the Pro Football Hall of Fame inductees are up or the finalists, we always take a look at it. We take a look at what guys are there and stuff like that, and this guy's name keeps popping up during a lot of those. So that's what we notice. You see that key point. Aaron Donald is in the conversation with some of these stats that are thrown out there with some of these borderline Hall of Famers. And that's where we kind of disagree and argue the fact that Richard Seymour should be inducted this year. We don't agree with that. And I don't get it. I don't understand it. I mean, he's been out there for another 10 years, I think, since he's been retired, or 15 since he's been eligible. He finally gets in, but I really don't think he should have. You know what I mean? You
don't
take a
put
look
him
at
in.
it. There's a lot of other active players that have better stats than he did.
DeMarcus Ware.
DeMarcus Ware, that blows me away that he didn't get voted in. But
Jared Allen.
You don't want to get
There's
me
2 right there
started on
that deserve to be in the Hall of Fame this year. And wow, they put in Richard Seymour. Really? Why? Because it was his last year being eligible? Craziness. Craziness. Guy doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, bottom line.
No.
But I don't know. We already got through that.
All right.
I'm going to shut up now.
Move on from that. All right, wake up. Wake me up when Zach Thomas gets in.
Not going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen either. I don't think it's going to happen. Yeah.
It's
and
crazy.
That's the thing. And we're looking at it. Again, we're looking at it. The stats, we're looking at everything. His career, other people that are in.
Amazing.
And I think the way some of these people that are able to vote evaluate these guys, I really don't see Zach Thomas getting in, tell you the truth. He might, and we would hope that at sometimes, because, again, Mike Tackett knows. We remember watching these guys. But a lot of people that are able to vote even on this, too, have never even seen some of these guys. But that's why it's kind of questioning at some of the people that got inducted this year. There leaves a lot of question marks with me. Like, what did they see in some of these guys? Did they just see that they were there for a while? Did they look at Richard Seymour's, 2 Super Bowl wins? I mean, was it that he was part of the great Patriot franchise? I mean, it just the Patriots moved on to from him early because they knew that he wasn't going to be that productive.
He was declining,
and they gave him to the Raiders. And Joe knows.
And the Raiders were stupid enough to give him a first-round pick for him.
Mm-hmm.
Did nothing with the Raiders. So I mean. To me, it's amazing how these guys get voted in. Some of them, anyway. I mean, there's definitely like slam dunks. Like DeMarcus Ware is a slam dunk. Jared Allen is a slam dunk. Those are 2 candidates that are slam dunk. Should have happened this year, and instead you put in a guy who is not even considered one of the elite cream of the crop type of D tackles. When you talk about, just like you mentioned, when you talk about Bruce Smith and Reggie White and LT and these great D linemen, these great pass rushers, And you bring in DeMarcus Ware, and you're like, oh yeah, I could make a debate like they're kind of up there. They were super, super disruptive. They got a ton of sacks. They were very productive for their teams. They were amazing, and including Jared Allen. You could make that debate of talking about those guys being up there with that conversation. And for a guy like Richard Seymour to get in, who, I'm sorry, but if you check his stats, like if any you know-it-alls out there want to go and look at these stats for these all-time greats, please do so. Because Richard Seymour doesn't even come close. He's not even top 20 in the conversation. He's not even close, and somehow, some way, this guy gets in. It's absolutely asinine. It's erroneous on all accounts. It's terrible.
Wow.
So I don't know. I don't know if we need a different committee, like if we just need all fresh blood in the voting room or what. Because it seems to me that a lot of people have already made up their minds on certain players. And then when they have these conversations or these debates on whoever they're talking about to get in the Hall of Fame, some people they hold grudges because, oh, he didn't give me an interview one time, or he didn't answer my questions, or he gave me an attitude, or he shoved me out of the way. You know what I mean? Sometimes these journalists or whoever's in the voting community there for the Hall of Fame, sometimes they get burnt by these players. Like Terrell Owens. How long did it take for Terrell Owens to make it? Because the media didn't like him. Because let's face it, he was an asshole towards them for many years. So, and they held a grudge, so they kept him out as long as they possibly could. You can't deny a player his right to be in the Hall of Fame if he truly deserves it. And Terrell Owens, thank God he got in, because he definitely deserves to be there. He's one of the greats. And maybe, hopefully, probably not, maybe they can turn things around and get some of these guys in like DeMarcus Ware and Jared Allen.
Yeah, and T.O.'s stuck the middle finger to those guys, too. He's like, I'm not even showing up for that. Bill Belichick here. Mike Tackett says, Bill Belichick thanks the Raiders for this trade that enabled them to get draft pick Nate Solber at number 17 in 2011. Yeah, and that's the thing. That's where, in turn, the Patriots again end up not re-signing him and left him out there in free agency for the Giants to sign him after he was well past due of what he should have been. And then they made a mistake, and they were suffering the consequences. Now he's finally just getting off the payroll for them. So, again, another time that Bill Belichick had duped everybody once again, but then also was able to gain something out of another dumb team. So it's funny how the cycle keeps going and going and going for them. But back to the game, though, too, and it wasn't until for them you wondered what was going on, because OBJ was really stepping up into this game, but then the second half or later on in the game, like the fourth quarter, Cooper Kupp really stepped up. You knew when it was crunch time, they had like 5 minutes left. That's all they had. It's like Matthew Stafford had to be like, dude, you're getting covered all over, but I have to throw it to you anyways. Here you go.
But this is the funny thing is
they got pressured, and then that's when you saw the holding calls and stuff like that, and that's where it was all said and done.
I'll say this. I think the defensive coordinator had to make a change because he kept playing zone constantly. Even with Odell Beckham out, I understand, like, because they forcefully threw the ball to Cooper Kupp.
Oh, absolutely.
And rightfully so. But the defense got to change. You got to start playing more man. You got to start double covering Cooper Kupp. You can't just sit there and continue to play cover 3 and cover 2 and just let him eat you alive in these open zones spaces for him to catch the ball. I mean, he was absolutely eating up this defense left and right, and the defensive coordinator did nothing to change it. And I'm actually kind of surprised, because by allowing the Los Angeles Rams and Matt Stafford to throw the ball to Cooper Kupp as many times as they did, to drive down the football field and score, to get back in this game, to win the game with Cooper Kupp. Mm-hmm. What are you doing? As a Bengals fan, you had to be sitting here watching this game and being like, what the fuck is happening right now? What are we doing? Why are we're just letting them have whatever they want?
Retard alert.
Exactly. I mean, you got to make adjustments. We talk about the good, better, and best coaches out there. Well, the best coaches out there, they make adjustments snap to snap, play to play. I don't understand why the Bengals defense didn't do that. We didn't see it. They didn't even add. They didn't add blitzing to pressure Matt Stafford to maybe make him throw the ball sooner than he wanted to, and to not double cover their best receiver at a crucial time down the stretch at the end of the game, and just kind of let him do what he wanted to do. The Bengals deserve to lose that game.
Yeah, they go straight, man-to-man right there, and that's when Eli Apple really got exposed, and now he's just a walking meme.
Well, they were playing zone.
Isn't it hilarious?
They weren't even playing man.
Because when he
played
was
zone.
there, he was getting beat on him all day long right there, and to where he had to resort to holding again. You know what I'm saying? And this is where Eli Apple has always gotten beaten, basically, and that's where you do. It's because when you get physical with him or you can beat him over the top, he's got to resort to holding. And that's what he ended up doing in this game, and it ended up costing him in the end. And now he's the walking, laughing stock of the whole NFL right now after this is all said and done.
I wouldn't say.
But like you said, you know what they were doing. Like you had to. That's all they had. Because you stopped the run. And Van Jefferson just couldn't get anything for some reason. Couldn't get real separation either. And they were on their third string, tight end too as well. So I mean, and he was dropping passes too. So that's all they really had.
The only thing about those plays and everything down the stretch in the fourth quarter, they started to throw the flags got a little looser then. Flags started to drop out of their pockets a lot more often.
Well, it started to matter.
And it seemed to be awfully fishy on how the whole game, pretty much, they were letting them just run rampant. They were letting them do whatever they wanted, to be as physical as they wanted, no holding calls, no pass interference, really. I mean, and then in the fourth quarter, it seemed like on that last drive with the Rams, it seemed like they started to throw the flags a lot more for the same things they were letting go in the first quarter. So, a lot of people were making that debate about like, hey, what gives? Like, why is it not being called like it was in the first half now? And maybe the NFL wanted to reassure that the Rams won at home in LA to make this glorious story for Stafford and everybody involved. So, but that was the fishy part for me. Like in the fourth quarter, it seemed like they started to throw the flags a lot looser towards anything that they could see or find. And, holding, against the defense. And then there was pass interference. And then, holding on the linebacker, Logan Paul or whatever
Logan
his name
Paul.
was. Whatever his name was.
Have you been drinking?
No, I wish I was. But yeah, you got grabbed. So, I mean, it's kind of crazy how the calls changed throughout the game. They started calling them. Then they weren't in the beginning. I think that if you're going to not call a lot of the penalties in the beginning, you got to stick with that same trend going down the stretch, regardless of what's on the line.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I saw a lot of the hand checking going on and the hand grabbing and holding. Really, I hate it when they kind of let them play. And no offense, and I know everybody probably says that sounds stupid and shit right now, but because I've seen it. It is what it is. Why would you let this backyard football happen and things like that? If then, like you said, later down the line, you're going to end up changing it. That's when you open up the door for things like this. They're like, well, you didn't call it before, but now you're calling it.
Yeah, you got to keep it
the
same.
See it in baseball, they're like, well, this is the strike zone, but this umpire will let it slide up and around here, and this guy will do it this and this, and you got to know this. Dude, we set up the parameters. This is where it is, underneath the elbow to the knees. There you go. There's your strike zone. Same thing that this. Why are you letting things go when he's clearly holding the guy's hand? Like with the Van Jefferson deep ball, he could have had an opportunity to catch that ball, but he's getting his one hand held, absolutely held down to where he needs to go up for a one-handed grab, and there was no call at all.
Yeah.
Seriously, that would have been a major thing. And if they called pass interference on that, you think the defense would have been like, whoa, all right, we got to not do this then. You know what I mean? Let's back up. Let's chill it out because that's a big chunk play.
It is a big chunk play, but but the thing is the whole half, they were letting them play. They were just letting them play. So if you got to keep it consistent throughout the game. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
You can't help the Rams get down on that last drive. You can't, not call it in the beginning of the game. If it's a penalty, it should be called. And it wasn't. They were just letting them kind of do whatever they kind of felt like early on. And then when it mattered most, then it's like, oh, well, we might have to call some penalties now because we don't want to look like the guys that just kind of let the Bengals win or something like that. So it just – I don't know what the mindset was at that time, but if you're going to call or just not call these penalties early on in the game, you might as well just let it run its course. And at least that way you can say you had a consistently called game. But that just didn't happen down the stretch.
All right. Tom Leonard says, if you can't overcome a couple plays in a game, you didn't do enough. And that's what it comes down to, too, because overall, in closing here. I look at that game, and I really, if the Bengals end up coming out with a victory in that, I really think they got lucky because they didn't really do a whole lot. They got really, that if it wasn't for that big non-face mask call, they really didn't do anything besides that. They really had the Rams on the ropes. They really could have done it, but they really didn't do anything offensively. They stalled out a bunch of times, gave the Rams plenty of opportunities to come back in here, which the Rams ended up doing in the end. And
really?
That was it. That's it. That's it. None. Yeah. They didn't do anything.
You didn't see all those Jamar Chase plays and everything?
All what plays? He had one good one against Jalen Ramsey, and that's it.
He beat Jalen Ramsey 3 times.
No.
Yeah.
No.
You might have to go back and watch the game
I will.
again.
Dude, I watched the whole game. And again, they really didn't do anything. Yeah, they got a touchdown off of that big blown play.
I want to know how they scored 20
points. They got a
points.
touchdown off the big blown play, and then they got a touchdown off a halfback pass. That's it. All the rest was 2 field goals. That's it. So if that big play didn't happen with the face mask, they don't have 20 points.
True.
That was the whole game. They were riding the whole game on that 20 points.
They
were sitting at 20 forever, Joe. It was forever. They went a whole quarter on 20 points.
Yeah, that's fine.
But
yeah, they were leading the game
enough. They lost the game.
They were leading the game.
And this is what Tom Leiter's talking about.
Into the fourth quarter, they were leading the game 20-16.
They didn't do enough.
Defensively,
like you said,
yes.
Maybe offensively. They should have just kept running and they should have scored.
Okay.
But they just didn't.
But here's the thing. It was towards the end of the game. It was 2016.
Defensively, they were shutting down the Rams multiple times.
Until that fourth quarter.
Yeah, until the last 5 minutes.
They started to allow them to go right down the field. And they didn't change anything.
On them, yeah.
So I mean, if anything, it's on the defense. Defenses win championships, and that was the epitome of it right there. Right. So I mean, to say that the Bengals offensively didn't do anything, you could make the case. Listen, if the Rams
didn't do much either until the end. I agree there too.
Well, that's what.
But
the
Rams really basically had it though. They had the game. They just faltered enough in that big play. That was it.
I think that it was the other way around. I think the Bengals had the game because they were leading in the fourth quarter, and then
just on the one blown play.
They didn't have it. Yeah, play. They did enough to get ahead in the game and to possibly win it. So to say that they did nothing the whole game is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. It's like, if the Rams didn't make that final scoring drive, they would only had 16 points. And it would have been like the worst outing offensively in Super Bowl. Who knows how long since the last Super Bowl was that low
since
scoring.
the last time they were in the Super Bowl.
I mean, to say that one team didn't do as much as the other or lack of, I think was a little crazy. I just think it was a great game. Defensively, both teams played admirably right down to the end, and the Bengals just didn't make enough adjustments down the stretch, in the fourth quarter. So, I mean, that's what it is. I think it was a great game. I don't think that one team overdid another. So, you're going to
shut your mouth.
Don't think so.
I can't reach you.
You drink again.
Stop it.
Tom says drink again.
I did. You shut your mouth.
You drink again. Yeah, listen to logic.
All right, you know what's logical right now? Before I start drinking more, I'm going to talk about my friends here at Mohawk Honda. Mohawk Honda, Freeman's Ridge Road, that's right. The inventory, Joe. I drive by this when I'm not drinking, and they have still, you talk about the shortage that's going on right now, 20, 22, everything. They are fully loaded. And it's not even just Hondas. They have Chevys. They have whatever. Because from other people that have traded in their vehicles and put themselves in brand new Hondas and stuff like that. The car of their dreams. That's right. That's what they do at Mohawk Honda. Our man, Gods.
Our fearless leader.
Gods just got another vehicle from Mohawk Honda. He talked to our guy. Let's do a deal. Cam McKenna. There you go. Shout out to Cam McKenna. He went in, traded in, got the vehicle that he wanted, that he deserved, and got the value on his trade-in because the Kelley Blue Book instant cash offer. That's right. They're doing that still right now. It is a brand new year for you guys still. 2022 Kelley Blue Book instant cash offer to give you top dollar for your trade-in, whether you want to put it in on a new ride or not. You want to just take the cash? Go ahead, do that too. Don't matter. Go check them out, Freeman's Bridge Road or MohawkHonda.com, where they go out of their way to please you, Joe. That's what they do. And I tell you, I'm going to go talk to Gaza and say, hey, man, I bet they went out of their way to please you, huh? There you go. Mike Jackets in the house. He says Joe tore his ACL early last year and sprained his MCL on his leg on Sunday. He's tough as nails, but if they don't address the pass blocking need, he'll be Andrew Luck 2.0, and we talked about that earlier. And this is the thing. This is the situation that they're dealt with, and you can't – when you say the number 70, that he's been sacked, counting the playoffs, 70 times this season, that is crazy. And the fact that, again, the 2 years that he's been playing now, leg injuries, that'll end your career quick.
Absolutely, and that's the thing is – and you know that they're going to get to that. Like this upcoming offseason. That's got to be the priority, because they got to protect their investment in their quarterback in Joe Burrow. They got to protect him long enough so he can throw the football all over the football field. And they got to be able to open up rushing lanes for Joe Mixon and keep him healthy as well. So that's definitely got to be on their docket for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely on their agenda.
Absolutely. Joe, it is winter time out there, but tomorrow's gonna be fairly nice though. I can't wait.
That's right.
Spring is coming, like Mike Tackett talked about. Football season, even though it just ended, we got the USFL coming. The XFL will be coming soon though. But again, we're already talking about free agency and stuff like that. We're excited, but it's still cold. Let's talk about our friends at Johnstone Supply right now. They're going to take care of us up here in upstate New York.
Yeah, as the not so frigid winter air sets in. Because it is starting to kind of warm up here and there, but we are still having some cold nights. It's more important than ever to make sure your furnace or boiler is ready to handle the extra workload. Johnstone Supply in Troy, New York is ready to help all you guys out there, all you know-it-alls. The crew at Johnstone Supply will give you the advice you need to figure out the best solution for you, whether it be changing your filters, replacing your furnace, gym waving a alcoholic football around. Johnstone Supply in Troy has the new high-efficient Goodman furnaces and the Naveen boiler. You can stop into 6th Avenue in Troy, New York, or call Johnstone Supply at 518-272-5922. That's 518-272-5922. And do us a favor when you do so. Hit the number 2 and ask for the counter guys and tell Tom, Kevin, James, and Rob that you heard it right here on Football on the Nose Show. And they're not only at just this location in Troy, New York, in the Capital District here in upstate. They're also down in Florida for your AC needs, or even to warm you up at night during the winter. Also, West Coast, over by guy Tom in Seattle, they got another location there too. So reach out to them if you need any help.
Tom Leiter says, is Jim driving? I'm not driving.
Yeah, he's driving his ass up the stairs into bed.
I just have to stumble. That's all I have to do. It's all good. I'm having a lot of fun. I hope you guys are having fun out there. We enjoy the conversation and the engagement you guys always bring to us. It's been another fabulous year, Joe. I mean, we've been rocking and rolling, doing a lot of stuff. We got to talk about talk to Levon Kirkland last week.
Yes, we
did.
What I mean? That was awesome.
That was cool as hell. If you guys haven't saw that yet, go to your YouTube page and check out the interview with Levon Kirkland. We had a lot of fun. We were only supposed to have him on for 15 minutes, and he stayed on with us for like a half hour.
Yeah,
he did not want to let go, and he just wanted to tell us more stories. It was a ton of fun.
Yeah, it was one of those interviews, and probably one of the best interviews we've ever had on the show. Not only to talk to a great, a former NFL great in Levon Kirkland, But also, he gave us a little peek behind the curtain.
Ooh,
you know, at times, like he let us know on a couple of stories, and it was funny because there was a couple times during the interview he's like, "Hey, if you don't mind, I'd like to tell you guys a story," and we're like, "By all means, go for it, bro." And he really, I think he really got comfortable with us. He enjoyed talking to us and letting us know like some of the things that he was, his opinion on, or like Super Bowl 30 we brought up, and he was all about that. He was on that topic for a little bit.
Reliving the moments and stuff like that in the game, and he was feeling it. Like that's what I mean. He was about to say, "Yo, listen, this is I am going to be the MV," and before you could get P out, the interception happens, and he's like,
exactly. And not only that, another thing that was impressive and for him to kind of relay this information was the fact that, like, when we asked a question on what it was like, kind of to play under Dick LeBeau's system and, in the Blitzburg type of defense and with all those greats around him like Kevin Green and Greg Lloyd, just to name a couple. And Justin Gilbert. And he ended up continuing it and naming every defensive player on the field. So was an amazing time. We had a phenomenal time. We hope to have him back on the show again.
He's going to be legend. Wait for it.
And not to mention, he is the type of guy who is really down to earth, but he's there to talk football. He's all about football. So, and I know Jim asked him a couple of questions about, like, kind of off topic a little bit, but he was right there and all in, dialed in. He just couldn't wait to just share, his thoughts. So it was amazing, Levon. Thank you for coming onto the show. Hope to see
and
you
he
soon.
also hosts. I'm going to plug him right now, shamelessly right now too. He hosts Believe in Clemson podcast. So again, Clemson football. He wants to talk about it too as well. And he's been president, I think, of the South Carolina teams too, or something like that. He has some other kind of field too, but. Yeah, the Clemson podcast. Check him out, too. Definitely on the Believe Network. Tom Leiter says, how about the halftime show? The party I was at stopped to watch. How about everybody stop the party to watch those guys? Yeah. All right, Joe, why don't you go first on this one? Because everybody loves my hot takes on this.
So, I mean, for me, I thought it was a good halftime show. However, I thought they could have done better. I was expecting – I saw like 3 of the lowriders parked out front of this weird, like, all-white, like, pitch white neighborhood. I didn't understand that. No real color in it. But I saw the 3 lowriders, so I thought, like, maybe towards the end of the show, the show, that they, like, Eminem and 50 Cent and Snoop and Dre, they were all going to get in those cars. And I thought they were going to, like, just bounce their way out of the – off the field. And I thought it would have been an amazing exit and everything. And Mary J was there, of course. She was amazing. And I thought it was good, but it wasn't great for me. Like, I was expecting, like, so much more. I thought that they could have done a better halftime show, a bigger type of halftime show for them. And I didn't think the NFL or whoever coordinates the halftime shows, I didn't think they really put in all too much thought in this. And it's a damn shame, because for guys like Dre and everybody, they were super excited about performing during the halftime show. And I don't know if you know this, but none of the halftime show performers get paid. Mm-hmm. This is a free thing that they just do for obviously, like, if their album's coming out soon or something or whatever, they go and they do these promotion stuff to kind of make them relevant again. Wow. In a sense.
Make them relevant again. That's tough.
Well, think about it. It's advertising for free. That's really what it is. So, I mean, that's what I'm getting at. Mm-hmm. I mean, so,
oh, my God. Who the hell
I think it was actually kind of interesting. Jim, shut the fuck up. Drink again.
I have control of this. This is great.
So, what do you think?
It's funny as we agree on this whole thing. I got a lot of shame for what I had said before, because somebody had brought up it. That's the thing. These things happen, and people instantly go to Facebook. Oh, this is the greatest halftime show I've ever seen, and then other people, this is the worst halftime show I've ever seen.
Yeah, there's 2 different
people
spectrums.
Have to instantly go to Facebook. Like, once the halftime show is over, they do. And the common thing I saw is that it was super short. which I can kind of see that could have led, which I want to break down the whole aspect of what I'm feeling. That could have been why we both felt underwhelmed by the whole thing. I think same thing. I was left with like, yeah, it was pretty good, but I'm like, I expected better. Like, it could have been better. People are like, oh, it was amazing, but it was just too short. Again, they went to a few different commercial breaks and came back, and they still weren't ready yet. So I'm thinking the set, getting it out there, might have caused a little too much to be. It took a little too long to get it out there for some reason. I don't know, but I know usually once they go to break and they come back, they're ready. They did a few commercial breaks and then finally came back to them to get ready. So they had lost that time because it's only like a half hour. So they had lost that time to perform. Mary J. Blige, I think she has some good tunes, but overall, I mean, I understand the draw, but I was like, eh. And the song that she even did, it's like she had better
by
songs.
herself.
I'm like, I'm ready to hear Real Love. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But then when she falls backwards, I could not help but laugh my ass off the way she just went, ugh. And just laid out. And then everybody's talking about Fat 50 Cent, which I knew there was going to be a cool like kind of thing because they kind of surprise guest there. Like, oh, no, it's 50. You know what I mean? But he looked like he was going to pass out and fall from the freaking sky, like from hanging upside down like
Blood
a bat.
was rushing to his head.
He was dying. He's like, you had to get him off of there. But again, you got done. They went through the songs. You knew they were going to do Lose Yourself. And after it was all said and done and they did it and they were done, I was kind of like, that's it?
Yeah,
That's what I mean. I was kind of left with, oh, that's it. Bummer.
My thing, what was with the Alpine neighborhood? Like everything was white.
I don't understand that.
Because like there's other halftime show performances that has happened recently in the years where they got a cool stage, they got lights going, they got some fireworks,
very
they got
bland,
kind of
basic.
I mean, to have 50,000 dancers all over the place, I mean, I don't know if that was really needed.
Yeah.
That was kind of crazy, but it's like, and then also, darn it, I'm gonna forget his name, but he was also involved. Kendrick Lamar.
He's terrible.
He
He could have picked a better song again. I'm like, pick a song that people like.
I just don't know what the deal was with them. I don't know if he just didn't want to be seen. If that's how they choreographed it. Like he was like hiding in between dancers and everything while he was like, so I don't know.
Tom says here that Prince was the best.
Prince had a really good one. He definitely had a really good one.
I think a few that have some nice things, but I think also what attributed to this is there's been so many recent poor halftime shows that this just elevated this one to that much better for some people. And then the groups that they had in it were guys that we know growing up. I mean, I'm not going to speculate out there, Tom, and I have been drinking, so take this into the best things. I'm not sure how old you might be. The baldness kind of throws me off a little bit, but the gray beard is there as well. So, but I'm just saying, you might not be in the realm of what Joe and I are at with the Dre and the Snoop and the Eminem and stuff like that. This stuff was like there when we were hitting high school, early cutting out of high school, like that type of era. So guys like our age were like really into this type of deal. You know what I mean? It was big. So a lot of people in my age group, they're super hype about this whole thing. Right. They kind of, again, for me, blew it out of proportion. It was like, oh, this was the best ever. I'm so feeling this. And again, and I'm just kind of like, check it. You know what I mean? Check it. Like, I was like, yeah, it was good. But
it was good.
It could have been
good.
better. Like, I saw Katy Perry riding a freaking tiger or some shit. You know what I'm saying? I've seen that before. Dr. Dre was in front of an all-white fake mixer. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And then a piano. He played a little bit. Like, come on, bro. Yeah. Seriously. Lady Gaga jumped from the top of the stadium and airdropped herself into the stadium. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there was definitely a lot
if
better
50 Cent was just dangling from, the ceiling out of like a broken out cardboard cutout they busted out before he came, remember, and showed it. So, I mean, I was like, Tom says, I get it. My party stopped. You're not relevant this long without talent. Yeah, I mean, and I get it too. But I think, you know what? They take this maybe as a jump off. Maybe next year, I'm thinking, seeing as though Jay-Z is kind of involved in the whole thing, I'm thinking grab the remaining members of Linkin Park, Jay-Z, and do like a rap rock mashup type of fun kind of thing.
That could be cool.
Yeah.
Also, you know, I mean, you got to think about his label like Rockaware. Well, you know, when they had that the album label and everything, and they were able to
Rockefeller Records.
Yeah, Rockefeller Records, and they were able to bring in some talent that way. I mean, they could come with Jay-Z,
Fat Joe, and Ashanti, something.
It'd be
you know,
crazy. You know,
it could be cool.
I'll say this: like, whoever's available, I think Wu-Tang Clan.
Oh,
could
that would
actually
be awesome. See, that's the thing, and I don't know
for
if that's
halftime.
the people they want to reach, though. I don't know.
Well,
I don't think. Well, that's the thing.
They brought in Dre.
Wu-Tang
and
is
Snoop.
worldwide, I think. I love Wu-Tang. You
Yeah.
love. I think they're really worldwide.
Yeah.
But again, for some reason, the NFL, I think, tries to play on this whole image type of deal, and this is where I think these guys, like you said, it might be the beginning of something here with Dre and Eminem. They break on the whole side of kind of gangster rap, but not so much, a little bit too, but still popular, because they were going on the pop music for so long.
Mm-hmm.
You had Maroon 5, which was absolutely putrid. It was terrible. And the only reason some people thought it was great is the women would pipe up and say, oh, the halftime show was amazing. All right, why? Oh, he took his shirt off. Oh, that made it so much more amazing. Yeah, the music just got that much better.
Mike Tackett just commented. He goes, Wu-Tang for life.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
My
Man, yeah. Dude, we're on a flag team called Wu-Tang. This is
right.
Woo forever. That's how
right,
we
baby.
live it. We live it like that. We would love that. We would love it. Get remaining members, whatever. That would be cool as hell. Tom Leiter says Kid Rock is almost washed up enough, which is funny too, which I think that might be entertaining. I'm ready for him to break the mold. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Right.
ready for him to get a little different, okay? Because what they've been doing is kind of been, bouncing around different things. Like I said, around pop music. Like,
to
this
sleep
is like
music.
in between. The older people don't like so much here, but the younger people don't like this so much there. Frig whatever,
It's got to be pepped up.
do it
It's
different
definitely
every
gotta be
week,
big.
every year.
It's
Do it
gotta be
different
better.
every year. You're going to make somebody upset. Who cares? Just do it different every year.
Get some more energy.
I'm ready for
involved
the
in
heavy
Showtime.
metal and the rock, too. Let's bring it. You know what I'm saying?
Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah.
They would be amazing.
Let's get it. You know what I'm saying? All right.
go. All right, let's move on.
But anyway,
Come
let's
on.
move on anyways. We've been talking about a lot of that stuff. I think it's time for me to drink. It's been a while here. I appreciate you guys joining us with us tonight. I want to give a shout out to our sponsors too. That has
Dude.
been really supporting us.
Yes.
This whole year, we've grabbed a lot more sponsors this season, Joe. We got Johnstone Supply. We have Mohawk Honda, Buck Environmental Solutions. We've been there since the beginning. Colorize right there, and PPK. Thank you, everybody, for supporting us. You caught that. Down Monday, who supplies us with the music, and Steve Murray, who is on Knockout City. If you haven't played video games yet in Knockout City, check it out. Steve Murray is the voiceover of the DJ. That's our man.
Yeah.
Does our stuff. Check it out. Support our bro. So we love it here. Joe, let's get into our next segment. We're going to have fun with this. Everybody join along with this. We do like a buy-sell type of
Stock up,
segment,
stock down,
but we're
guys.
going to do stock up, stock down in this one. We're going to roll through this. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, so play along with us. NFL news and updates, Tom Leiter. That's right. Those are supporters, too. They don't sponsor
definitely.
and give us money, but you know what? They give us emotional support and love. Absolutely. Tom Leiter.
They keep us going.
I had a conversation with somebody about this past week, too, and we're talking about real, true fans and real, true friends.
Right.
And Tom Leiter, even though I've never met this guy physically face-to-face, this guy, I feel a lot of love for this guy, and
He's
he
amazing.
is like a true friend of mine.
Right. He's amazing.
He might have different things that he likes. He might like to fish or whatever, and this and that, blah, blah. Might different political beliefs. But him and I, we both love football. We both have conversations about it, different opinions. And we met through this whole organization of our stream and liking football and Facebook. And we are friends.
Yeah,
And I
definitely.
really appreciate it. And it is a family. And that's what I love about this whole thing we've been doing, Joe.
Yeah, guys like Tom Leiter and Mike Tackett, those are OGs to us. Those are the guys that have been here since day one when we first started the show. They helped us get off the bottom. We started, with black curtains behind us and a black table and nothing real exciting to look at, and
Right.
and now we are here full front and center. We got some little design or ornaments and everything, and then we've gotten better. I mean, trust me, we've definitely gotten better. We've heard some of our old tracks, and they've been pretty bad. But not to mention, I mean, Mike Tackett's been amazing.
Mike Tackett, too.
Down
We
in
love Mike
Ocala,
Tackett.
Florida. Thank you very much for being a friend and a great supporter of the show. Tom Leiter, he has a group called NFL News and Updates. I encourage you, I implore you, know-it-alls out there, if you haven't done so already, to hop over there and join his group, because it is one of the biggest groups that we're a part of, and full of NFL fans galore, NFL insight, different takes. People post there all the time. Make sure you reach out to NFL News and Updates if you're interested in joining an NFL group. Yes, so great supporters of the show. Thank you guys just as much as our sponsors, because without you guys helping us grow, like, you guys were there for us right from the start. So thank you guys so much for helping us. Tom Leiter has been gracious enough to allow us to post our show onto
Right.
his group. Mike Tackett's been a amazing supporter of this show and helping us spread the word. So listen, if you're new to the show, even if you've been here before, spread the word for us. Help us grow as a YouTube channel. Help us grow as a Facebook show. You can search us up, Football on the No Show, on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell. Let you guys know when we go live. We're also on Twitter at FB_no. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it.
All right. Mike Tackett, thank you, guys. He says he has absolutely. Mike Tackett, man, I love you, Ben. It's awesome. I'm going to get down to Florida. Whether it's going to be this year or not, I know things are letting up with COVID and everything and restrictions.
Yes.
I got to see where my money's at with everything, with
Where your money at?
vacations. But I have family down there, bro, and I am ready to go. So I'm going to come down there and see you as soon as I can. All right, here we go. Team stock. Here we go. Let's take a look. We're going to go through them all here. Arizona Cardinals, Joe. Arizona made a good run this year. They look good. They made us look good because we did pick them to take the division. But after that, they really friggin' faltered out, dude. What the frig? And what's funny, because everybody wants to make a thing about Kyler Murray here, right? Right after the Pro Bowl, he takes everything in Arizona Cardinals off. Oh, his Instagram's different. Watch out. Yeah, that's cool. That's just some leverage he wants to do to try and make some money. But Cliff Kingsbury has said they live and die by Kyler Murray. And you know what? They lived for a while, and then they died because of Kyler Murray in the playoffs, what he did. Yes, I understand that the offensive line had struggled at times and they allow that pressure, but what he had did with it, making the bonehead, stupid-ass mistakes, that's what gets you killed, and that's what happened in that playoff game. And he's going to probably try and hold out or whatever he's going to do for his money. I understand it. You got to pay him. You got to do, but I think you got to be smart about this one with Kyler Murray. But they have a lot of other big decisions to make here. Team stock, I think they're up, though, because they have a lot of different decisions to make, a lot of different guys that are on free agency that they could walk away from and still get some more stuff from. You have James Conner that's going to be a free agent right now, and also Green is also going to be a free agent, so they don't exactly need to bring him back. And James Conner, they can maybe talk him back into a different deal, but he's probably going to look elsewhere for other deals and see if anybody liked what he did this year. But Arizona Cardinals, for me, I think the stock is up just because of the fact that they weren't expected again by a lot of people, except for us, that they were going to be anything in this division, and they played well. And so I think that nothing but up from here.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that. I think their stock is definitely up. The only problem is they do have to, take care of a few free agents. Chandler Jones is definitely one of them.
Yeah,
Zach
that's another
Ertz,
free agent.
who they
Yep.
got in a trade at tight end.
I think they let him
Max
walk.
Williams is also. I don't think they let him walk because he was definitely good for them to at the tight end position.
And at his point, he might take a lower pay.
Yeah,
deal.
to be able to add Zach Ertz was a huge improvement for this team. To be able to add him along with all those receivers, AJ Green's a big decision because he's a guy that's also an aging type of wide receiver. Was he worth really adding him to the roster? I think they might go a different route. I think they might let A.J. Green walk. I think they also got to worry about Christian Kirk. He's a free agent as well. They're going to have to put their money into Christian Kirk to retain him, keep him with DeAndre Hopkins, and grow from there. Yes, they do need to improve a few spots, definitely in the interior offensive line, but if they manage to bring back a few of these veterans that they already had on the team, and I think James Conner too. I think he played a great role, had a great role with them, being that more that physical type back, but he also could catch out of the backfield, being that that duplex type of running back for them. I think that's going to carry on into next season, and they're going to be right there. They're going to be competitive again. I know Kyler Murray made a few bonehead decisions, down the stretch, and that's why they're not in the playoffs. But I think the Cardinals are on the upswing.
So what do you think they do at running back situation? I mean, you got Chase Edmonds too. That's also going to be a free agent here. They didn't really utilize him enough. So out of the two, you think they bring James Conner back, at least giving him an offer to come back, or do you think they just look elsewhere and maybe in the draft?
I think because Chase Edmonds was their starter. I think they're going to concentrate on bringing not one, but I think both guys back, because James Conner didn't have a whole lot of teams falling at his feet in the past offseason. So the Cardinals just picked him up. He was out there for quite some time. And then how the value is with running backs. It's not very high. So if you want to test the market, you most likely will be sitting out there for a little while until someone's interested. So I think they're going to bring them both back because they were critical pieces to that offense.
Yeah, let us know what you guys think out there, too, as well. Play along. Tom Leiter says NFC West is tough. 3 of the 4 teams went to the playoffs. Yeah, it is. And that's the interesting thing about that. You never know sometimes. Some of these divisions, when they're so close, 3 teams in one division made it pretty damn far.
That's amazing,
It was pretty amazing. Yep. So next, let's move on to, for us, the Atlanta Falcons now. Atlanta Falcons, for me, again, without looking at a whole lot, I saw the way they played here. You would like to say the only way to go is up from here, but I think they still have a lot of moves to be made. They don't have Russell Gage moving forward into. He's going to be a free agent. It was tough their identity was really just Cordarrelle Patterson, which seems funny to me. It seems like I went back in time 5 years ago. That Cordarrelle Patterson was a big, major part of a team. And Matt Ryan, getting older, again, you got to start to learn about moving on, turning the page from him, I think, at this point. I think my stock on them is down.
For me, it's because of rebuilding. It's that simple.
Right.
Of course, their stock is going to be down. They just cut Dante Fowler Jr. to save them some cap space to kind of make them a little bit more competitive in the free agent market. Cordarrelle Patterson, I expect them to kind of re-sign him. He's due to be a free agent, but man, Arthur Smith is the only coach to finally figure out how to use Cordarrelle Patterson. And because of that, I think he's going to easily re-sign with them. He can use him in the same facet for next season. And they got a few other things to work out in terms of free agency. Some decisions that they're going to have to make. Guys like Isaiah Oliver, a corner and stuff. Not big names or anything, but they got to make some decisions on how many people they want to retain going forward. And this team is rebuilding.
Yeah.
Their offensive line got a little bit better, but it still needs to be better than what it was last season. Matt Ryan, I don't think they can move on from him because of the contract that he's getting paid.
Well,
a lot of money, a lot of guarantees, and he's just there. So would they love to? Probably, because of the amount of money they're paying the guy. But at the very least, this is a team that's in rebuild mode, and they got a good start with guys like Kyle Pitts to start off last draft. And let's see where they take it from here. The offseason is going to be definitely telling to see which way they track. But as of right now, decline because rebuilding.
Then Tom Leiter says that Matt Ryan is average at best, and they got to move on. They got to get a wide receiver, I think, in this draft.
Well, that's the other thing, too.
Because they end up getting screwed by Calvin Ridley.
Calvin Ridley left because of mental issues or whatever. He was going through something and had to figure it out himself. But this is the interesting thing is I'm not so sure Calvin Ridley is going to be back with Atlanta.
No.
I think that he might look to move on or wants to move on. So to what team? Who knows? Maybe Green Bay. There's definitely wide receiver needy teams. So let's wait and see what that decision is going to be made with Atlanta as well.
All right, let's move on to down the Baltimore Ravens, Joe. Baltimore Ravens, what do you got in this one?
So for
ready?
Baltimore, they're a little bit trickier because they were a team so high on the rise. Everybody was like, Lamar Jackson's one of the greatest dynamic quarterbacks there is. We can't do anything without him because as soon as he leaves, we have no offense. And we run the ball a lot. We don't really like to throw, but this year it seemed like all too much. Lamar Jackson was trying to force the issue of being more of a passing quarterback than in the past, because I know a lot of the doubters, a lot of the critics out there constantly label him as a running quarterback and not so much of just a quarterback. So he has improved in the passing game. However, he's got to stop trying to reach outside of his own realm. What makes him great is his ability to combine with his legs and his throwing ability to kind of keep defenses offset. So for Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens team, they're going to also go through a little bit of change. They also have to deal with the fact that they lost their D coordinator. Mm-hmm. They don't have him there. So I wonder that whoever steps in, I can't quite remember who it was, but when they do, how much is this defense going to change? I think it will be very similar. Obviously, they don't want to shake up too much. But when you have a lot of young guys at the linebacking spot, I heard that Calais Campbell is not considering retirement at his age and wants to come back for another year. Whether that be with Baltimore or another team, it remains to be seen. But other guys, real quick, Brandon Williams is another big-time starter for them at D-tackle. They got to make a decision with him. How much money do they want to retain him for? Sammy Watkins, definitely see him walk in. Jimmy Smith, you got to let him go because he's getting older as it goes, and he's not very efficient at the cornerback spot. But again, they have a bunch of guys that they're going to have to go through. They got a laundry list, really, of older vets or guys that have been there for a little while, and whether they want to decide to retain them or move on to keep this team rolling. So I think this team, if I was going to say upwards or downwards, I'm going to say upwards because they do have a positive spin for them. They were somewhat competitive, but definitely have to get back to what works offensively with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, this one's tough for me too as well, just because they were kind of an up and down team. A lot coming off that whole type of MVP season. He's on the cover of Madden. You had the injuries that you had. A mix of different type of running backs too. When you were a strong running game that they are, and then what they had to do back and forth here, especially bringing Devontae Freeman back into this mold too with them. Now those guys are all free agents. And then you have Sammy Watkins out there, which end up helping, too, in the passing game of having Marquise Brown there and open that up a little bit. Now you got to evaluate and look at those type of situations for them. And I agree with you, too. The same thing. A lot of these newer quarterbacks try to play superstar to where they get into big mistakes. Start doing bonehead things, the things that they reverted back to, the dumb turnovers that they would do. And this is what you saw a little bit with Lamar Jackson. Calais Campbell, like you said, he's ready to run it back. He was inspired by what happened with Aaron Donald and the Rams, so he is ready to bring it back with them. So this old ass is going to come back here for them. So all in all, it's tough. The stock, whether it's rising or falling, for me,
could be flatline.
I think it's like flatline, but you know
drink.
what?
Drink. Tom
At
told
this
you
point,
to drink.
Until I see some changes, I think they're in a downward trend. I don't think they're up, and I think they had their peak. They've slipped a little bit this year, and I think they're on a downhill trend unless they are able to reload this whole thing and come back firing. Drink. Here, Tom Leiter, I'm almost done. This is the strongest part, and you can tell now because I'm slurring more. And it is tough to get down, but I really appreciate you guys joining in with us tonight, and I'm having a lot of fun.
Moving on to the Buffalo Bills. This is another team that has some older vets that they're going to have to debate on whether they want to retain them or not. You look at guys like Mario Addison and Jerry Hughes, Vernon Butler, Emmanuel Sanders at the age of 35 years old, just about.
Hold on, Joe.
Yes.
I have to say, hello, Brandon Matthew.
There you go. What's going on, Brandon? Welcome to the show. And then the other thing, too, is I thought it was a kind of under-the-radar type of signing is Mitchell Trubisky as a backup for
He's
the
a free
Buffalo
agent
Bills.
now.
He's going to be a free agent. I don't think he's going to hang around anymore because he made $2.5 million off of them. But you're going to have to pay him a little bit more to stay.
I tell you what, there's a bunch of different other teams that didn't play very well that might consider bringing him into the thing. What about the Giants? Putting him behind Daniel Jones even to do a little pressure.
I think any
Because,
team,
again, Brian Dable was right there.
right?
They had him there.
Yeah.
He already knows the system.
Yep.
Bring him behind Daniel Jones, and that might put a little pressure.
And
That's
that-
scary for me as a Giants fan to say, like, oh, no, if we don't get Daniel Jones, we might have Mitch Trubisky. Fuck, you know.
And that's a
but
nice
still.
relationship there. Is Brian Dable with the GM? Was it, how do you say his name? Joe
Shane.
Shane. Got that Buffalo ties right there. So you got Mitch there. Maybe they bring him to NYG because honestly they need a
does
good
Brandon
backup
think?
quarterback. So that would make sense. But any team that needs a good quarterback, I mean, there's one right there. So I for the Buffalo Bills, it's easy for me. They're definitely on an upward trend. They were thought to maybe make a major push, maybe even making the Super Bowl this year, but they fell short. But I still like them going forward.
The Tom Leiter says there are two kinds of teams: those with franchise quarterbacks and those without. Buffalo has a franchise quarterback, and Brandon Matthews says Mitch is a bitch.
Does he look like a bitch?
Yeah, I guess he does. I guess he does.
That's a huge bitch.
There you go.
All right, Jim, Bills.
All right,
Go.
with the Bills, their stock has never been greater, I think, at this point. In that game, they basically had that game, dude. They were there. If they pull out that victory, I think at this point, they
go
kick
all-
the
go
living
to the
shit
Super
out
Bowl,
of the
yeah.
Rams in this one.
Yep.
I mean, they make them look like bitches right there. You know what I'm saying? They got it down. So the Buffalo Bills coming off of this one, they have nothing but the ceiling is the roof. You know what I'm saying? There we go.
Gotcha.
All right, here we go. Next up, we've got the Carolina Panthers. Here you go. Oh, man, the Carolina Panthers.
Brandon said
want
he's
me to
lit.
do this? I'm lit. No. And that's the real use of lit, by the way. All right, for all you millennials out there. That's the real use of lit. Is when I remember people would say, yo, this is lit and this or whatever. I'm like, dude, yeah, that means you're really drunk right now. And they're like, no,
boy.
that means this. I'm like, what? But anyways, all right, best show of the year, Tom Leiter. That's what we try and do. It's the drinking show. This is my first time losing out of 4 years. I'm making the best of it. It's a lot of fun. And I'm not messing up visually. Everything looks good visually, right, everybody?
Yeah. Panthers.
All right, Panthers.
Upwards or downwards? What do you think?
Downwards. I think they're going to make a change. I think, Matt Rule is going to be able to do what he can for this little bit, but now you've got still Sam Darnold, the constant injury-prone Christian McCaffrey. They're going to run it back here and try and do something with it, but I don't know. I think after this year, if they end up struggling, he's out and they're at rebuild mode.
I think this year for Matt Rule, it's a deciding year for him. He has to be able to have a winning record in order to retain his job.
With the Cam Newton deal, that was just a 1-year deal, right? He's done,
Yeah,
right?
he's done.
Yeah. So, I mean,
But-
when you had to do something like that, too, I mean,
But here's the thing: is they were desperate. They had to
They're
do something. Darnold went down with an injury.
Desperate
They weren't
people
going to
do
have him
desperate
for quite a long part of the season, and they had to grab someone. And sure enough, they were like, oh wait, I can make this work. Let's bring in Cam.
It is
Yeah.
pointless
No.
to resist.
It doesn't
my
work.
son.
Teams have tried before. So
I'm going to try and play
He-
every soundbite we have, I think, in this show.
you're doing a great job of
I'm
it.
trying.
So Cam's out, thank God. Here's the concerning part: is now it looks like they might.
Brandon's in Walmart
not
right now.
have-
He's dying.
Here's the thing right now: is Matt Paradis, the center, the All-Pro center for the Panthers, looks to be a free agent. They got to lock him up and keep him there. Otherwise, this offensive line might come apart at the seams. Here's the interesting thing: Stephon Gilmore, the corner, is a free
he's
agent.
a free agent. Yeah.
He's going to want big time money. He got paid $13 million this year with the Panthers. I don't think he stays. I think he looks to go somewhere
If he
else.
looks to get big money, though, still, I don't think I pay him big money.
But he's going to be 32 years old. He's getting
Right.
older. So
Yeah,
it's going to take
so-
a unique place, a special team that runs either something similar that he's more accustomed to, like the Panthers, in the Patriots, or he's going to look to maybe hop on one of these contending type of teams for
That's
a Super
what
Bowl.
I think is more the relative thing that what's going to happen.
Other
to
than
them.
that, there's a couple of other guys like Hassan Reddick who finally found a home with the Panthers, rushing off the edge. I think that they're going to re-sign him and keep him there. There's definitely a few others, but I think this is a team, and it's a very young team. This team this past season
that is true.
averages about 24 years old. Their defense is not only young, really young, but is a really impressive defense when they have some offensive help. So I look for them to strengthen up the offensive side of the ball, and I think this is a team on the upward trend.
Wow. I don't know about that, but sure, yeah, you know what? They can only go up from here, I guess, if that's the way you want to look at it. Next up, we've got the Chicago Bears, Joe. Now with a whole new regime in there, they got rid of Ryan Pace, they got rid of Matt Nagy. What do you think about the Chicago Bears?
Thank God they got rid of Matt Nagy. We've been pounding the table to get him out of there for 2 years now. We already saw the writing on the wall for Matt Nagy. Not a very good head coach. Go back to being an offensive play caller and see what you can do on a different team. But other than that, the Chicago Bears, they're also going to go through a little bit of a transition. New regime moving in, new head coach. How much of the team is going to change? Allen Robinson wanted out last year, so he's going to be a free agent.
Done, yeah.
He's all done. Offensive line, that was pathetic. The Chicago Bears offensive line definitely needs to be retooled and figured out. Guys that are also going to be free agents, Akeem Hicks.
A shit ton.
Jimmy Graham, they're going to let him walk. He's not worth keeping the money.
Dude,
there.
yeah. They have
so
a shit ton of problems.
They
here.
have a bunch, but not really guys that are really huge parts of the team. Guys that are like kind of secondary pieces to this team.
What do you think they do with Akeem
But-
Hicks? He's going to be a free agent. He's a big role player for their defense. But he's getting older now, though.
I honestly think for the money, I think they would let him walk.
Tom
I think
says
because
they stay Bears stay average. So how would you rate that in stock? Is that going to be up or down, or is that going to be
if it's average,
a
it's
bear
a flat
market, a
line.
bull market, or what's the other one they're trying to say?
But
now?
here's what I think is because this team is going through a little bit of they're going through a whole new regime change. They still have Justin Fields, who got drafted last year. He looks to get better for the upcoming season, but I'm not so sure how much better the offense around him is going to get. So with that said, and with possibly missing some pieces on defense, I think this is kind of like a declining type of season upcoming for them.
Yeah, for me, I'm saying the same thing. I think their stock is down just because it's time to sell right now. You got a new regime in there. They have a lot of, if you're looking at it, it's a lot of veterans out here. You look at Akeem Hicks, who's been very relevant for a while, but a veteran. Alec Ogletree, same thing. Productive, but older. Tayshaun Gibson here, that's one guy they want to probably bring back if they can. But Artie Burns, again, another guy who's a veteran who's been there for a long time. And then on offense, the receivers are all gone. Just about. And Marquise Goodwin, maybe they can bring him back if they want to, but they might as well just start new and get all new, fresh, young, new wide receivers in this draft.
I don't think they have a choice.
Yeah, because they have nothing. Dude, they're depleted. So basically, you're taking a look
Isn't
at this
that
team.
weird, though?
And on the offensive line, they brought in Jason Peters formerly for the Philadelphia Eagles. So this team, you saw, especially with the fact that they had Jimmy Graham at tight end, they are running on their last, old tooth that they could. Now they have nothing else to do but get young.
And that's the thing, too. You know what the crazy part of all that is?
What's crazy? What's crazy? I love it.
Is that
Let's go crazy.
Peters.
Pecker Puppers?
Jason Peters.
Did I just say that whole thing right?
When he came in to play left tackle for them,
Yeah.
it's the first time in a long time. You think of him back as an Eagle. He was always hurt.
Crazy.
But with the Chicago Bears, he actually stayed pretty healthy and actually
Yeah.
played well for them. Even at his age. So who knows? Maybe in a desperation move, they re-sign him for another year. But
Go crazy. Go stupid.
they're going to have to go crazy and go stupid because in the offseason, they got a lot of work ahead of them. So that's why we have him declining.
Go crazy.
Yeah, that just reminds me of Antonio Brown. That's another team that we're going to talk about in a little bit that has a lot of issues. All right, here we go. The Cincinnati Bengals, I think this one's pretty easy, what they've got going on. They still need to address the offensive line, but besides that, if they can keep the young personnel that they have healthy and keep going, I think their stock is nothing but higher right now. I think we said it before the Super Bowl. They got here a little prematurely. And they still even had a great opportunity in this Super Bowl to win this.
Yeah, they definitely did.
So they can run it back with what they have here, too. That defense played, I think, at a higher elevation. Is that
Yes,
right?
You got it right. You're good.
Than they probably are. You know, like I said, when you see this team and Eli Apple, that's what I mean. And it's tough when I talked about this on the pregame show. Eli Apple, when you're a Giants fan, you're looking at this game, you see B.J. Hill, which he's a free agent this year. Eli Apple, and then Odell Beckham Jr. in this whole game. You're kind of like, fuck, dude, I'm stuck in this whole thing. Do I rather want Odell win this or want Eli Apple? I'm like, fuck. It's got to be Eli, or not Eli, freaking Odell, all right, whatever. The Rams the better team, you know, and it's Odell. You know, he's worked hard, but he just gets injury prone. Eli Apple, flat garbage, and you see it now, too, with all the memes that are going on. B.J. Hill, let me tell you what, a lot of the times, guys that don't make the team anymore with the Giants, that go on the other teams, I think even Richmond is Richburg as another player that played for the 49ers, too, as well. Weston Richburg. Again, didn't fit as well as the Giants with the Giants during that current period, but played well in another scheme and another team. B.J. Hill doing the same things. Who knows? Maybe they can bring him back on the cheap. And he was doing well, and I would have been appreciative if he ended up winning the Super Bowl for him.
Yeah, and you don't have to worry about Eli Apple because he's on his way out
he's
the
on
door.
his way out, too.
He's a free agent.
Kick rocks, motherfucker.
Goodbye. But they do have to kind of nitpick through their list and just bring back the guys that are important, right? You know, you think about Jesse Bates, the third, that safety. Got to bring him back. Riley Reef is an interesting, position, is because he's going to be. It looks like he might be 33, almost 34 by the time free agency hits. And he played left tackle for them, or right tackle. He can play either or. But it looks like they need to, just like Jim was saying, just like we've always been saying, this offensive line needs to be rebuilt. It needs to be, shored up front for, Joe Burrow and the rest of the gang. So look for that being a major, part of their agenda this offseason, is to revamp that offensive line and just sprinkle in some talent here and there via free agency and the draft. But I definitely think they're tracking upwards because, listen, if they made the Super Bowl now and they got all these young wide receivers and they got the young quarterback, there's a lot to build off of this. So they could very easily be right back in the big dance next season.
I tell you what, I was hard on them, and I agree with what you're saying, too, when you came back at me and said they didn't really do a whole lot. Let me tell you what, though. I will give you this, too. And I said this to my son, too, during the game. I'm like, because, again, he follows football. He wants to get better. He wants to be able to catch better, throw better. Even at guys at this elite level, make dumb bonehead mistakes. Tyler Boyd, a guy who's a sure proven commodity, turning his head up early and not having that catch. He makes that catch, it's game over.
Yep.
It's it. It's a whole nother different thing.
Yep.
It's game over. They seal it up. It's over.
Got to focus.
So that goes to show you, no matter what, at any level, you got to be focused and in the game.
Execute.
And playing at your best and execute. Absolutely. There you go. And talk about execution. We're talking about the Cleveland Browns, where again Odell Beckham Jr. got kicked to the curb there too. Say we don't need him anymore, and he ends up going and winning a ring with the Rams, which is funny because they came full circle because we talked about it in our 2017 or 18 show when he got traded or they wanted to get rid of Odell Beckham Jr. with the Giants. The Rams were the number one contender. Instead, he goes to the Cleveland Browns, and it comes full circle. The Rams end up eventually getting him and not having to trade a goddamn thing and getting him on a cheaper deal. It's absolute bliss, and it's crazy the way things happen that way. But the Cleveland Browns, Jadeveon Clowney, he's going to be a free agent again, so he could move on to a different team who might need him. That's going to be probably, again, another cheap deal for somebody else. Besides that, a lot of the same whole thing coming back here. Now, really, what this team really needs to do is how sold are they on their quarterback? Because that's the main deal right here with Baker Mayfield. This is what they got to figure out and right here, Tom Leiter brings it up right there. Cleveland needs a franchise quarterback. And this has been the question at all times, and this is what they got to do. Right now, our lads has Case Keenum as their starter, And I think going forward
think
at
that
the
would
end
be
of the
better.
season, that would have been better for him as well, too. So right now, for me, where stock was probably as high for the Cleveland Browns or expectations, you didn't meet your expectations. So now your stock has plummeted to the ground. You're as low as you can get right now. I'm selling.
And the other thing, too, is like they built this defense up. They brought in Jadeveon Clowney to help Myles Garrett opposite him to be able to rush the passer.
I dropped my
But
Silas.
The funny thing is Jadeveon Clowney had a more successful season this year. Not a lot, but he's definitely was disruptive in the backfield, played well against the run, and, he had a few sacks instead of 0 like last season. So, but I'm curious to know, like, how much in love are the Browns with Jadeveon, because he's 29 years old. He made $8 million last year. I didn't see $8 million worth of production still. So do they let him walk? Let him become a free agent again? And there's a few other guys like Malik Jackson that played admirably well for them. Takaris McKinley actually found a home there in Cleveland. And, another interesting, free agent is David Njoku, who has been there. They drafted him in the first round thinking he was going to be this elite receiving type of tight end, and they don't even really use him, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
So how can he be that elite type of tight end for you if you don't really use him? And I understand he's had an injury bug, off and on throughout his career. However, when he's on the field, he can be dynamic. You got to give him some opportunities. So I hope that they re-sign David Njoku. If not, I feel like another team's going to scoop him up and make him a big star.
Here, Tom Leiter says Clowney has never recorded double-digit sacks, and that's the thing about Clowney.
No, he's never done.
And that's the thing where when you look at him and where he was drafted in class and everything,
Number 1 overall.
that's where it really creates a shadow over top of
Bust.
yourself. Yeah, that's where you become the bust. Because, again, now you're that guy that, maybe we can add him to our team to sprinkle a little bit this and that to add a little bit of pressure to enhance this guy that we have that we really love. You know what I mean? So that's what the whole thing, when he was brought into Cleveland, he was brought into a little more pressure so then Myles Garrett can get in there and get some more sacks, and even so he wasn't double covered maybe as much. That's what he was, and that's what he is. And as a number 1 overall to go into the league, that's not what you should be at this point. And like you said, he's not worthy of any type of major deal and stuff because never recorded double-digit sacks. Absolutely. I agree with you there, and that's why their stock is so low. So,
Yeah,
Joe,
it's
I
declining.
think you're down on their stock as well.
Because they don't have just like Tom was alluding to, like no franchise quarterback. Baker Mayfield, I don't think they have a complete trust in him at all. I think they're realizing finally that they're like, well, this isn't going to work out. But imagine this, though. If their backup from last year ends up being their starter this year and outperforms more than people thought, they could be right back in this playoff race again next season.
Well, that's what – then you know what? That could open up a whole other conversation with the Vikings too, because they sold completely in on Kirk Cousins, gave him that massive deal. They made it to the championship game. Again, when you talk about these two past Super Bowl champions, the Bucs and the Rams, who both won at home, the Minnesota Vikings were that close to knocking on the door to winning at home first before them.
True.
And they were there. And the crowd was behind Case Keenum. And then the next year, the Vikings said, "Psst, see you, bro. Thanks for getting us where you got us, but we're going to go do this instead."
They should have re-signed him.
Maybe they would have been in a better spot.
Maybe.
You don't know.
Maybe not.
But,
Maybe.
you never know now. But they're not any better from what they did with Kirk Cousins. Are they any better? No, they're in the same spot.
We're
Still
gonna
second
get to them.
to fucking the Green Bay Packers.
We're going to
there
get
you
to
go.
them. Let's go Cowboys
All right,
now.
next we're on the Cowboys. Oh, my favorite team. This is going to be great. I'm just going to shoot them down instantly. What do you got, Joe?
This is a team that's kind of like in a little bit of a limbo.
You know what, dude? This is bullshit, though. Every single year, again, you look at the stupid power rankings. We hate power rankings anyways.
Yes, we do.
Power rankings sucks. I'm going to drink quick.
You want me to talk?
But the fact now, even after the whole thing, the Rams win and everything, and you got the Bengals, the Cowboys are right there in like 4th in the power rankings to win the Super Bowl next year again.
I don't care.
Instantly.
I don't care. Because power rankings don't
What
mean anything.
have they shown you lately that they're capable of doing any of that?
Listen, same coaching staff, same personnel. Let's wait and see. Listen, Leighton Vander Esch is due to be a free agent. He's going to command a little bit of money, but not as much as you would think because he's always injured. Keanu Neal actually played really well for them coming in on this defense. They definitely got to try to shore him up and keep him. There's a few other talented players like Cedric Wilson, who kind of started to make a name for him himself this year at wide receiver. And then you also got guys like Michael Gallup, who didn't play as often as he does because of injury, but he's coming back, and I think he's going to reach free agency. And I think a team that is in need of a wide receiver, I think this is a low-key type of signing that you could have that could pay huge dividends for you into next season.
Tom Leiter says, run the ball with no timeouts and no franchise quarterback.
But the Cowboys...
Don't be rude.
I feel like the Cowboys, for me, they're not really trending upwards. For me, I don't want to say declining. I mean, we're going to use this option again. I think they're flatline. I think they're not going anywhere different. I feel like this team, you got the same offensive play caller in Kellen Moore, who honestly failed this team, having all these offensive weapons around, and for them not to put up crazy points
I'm gonna kill you.
like they should have been. And the defense they were up and down as well. So Dan Quinn's returning. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But I don't see this team really kind of going really anywhere different.
All right, you know what's funny about this team, too? It's America's team and all this other shit that everybody loves to talk about. My team, the Giants, they got problems. Everybody knows that. You see it. You see it right in front of you. There's debate on the quarterback, on the personnel, the coach, whatever. You've got a Dallas Cowboy team where you look at the personnel, the people that are the players, the coaches, the owner, and still yet every year you tell yourself you're expected to win the Super Bowl, but in the same breath you're talking about Sean Payton possibly being your next coach to replace Mike McCarthy. How the hell do you guys expect to have success and expect to get past whatever you need to get past when you have things like this happen throughout your team, throughout all that's going on? You can't have this doubt. You can't have the questions. You can't have the different controversy that's going on in the questions and all this other. Dak Prescott, even we were sold on our guy, but then all of a sudden the next season stops up and, maybe we shouldn't have done this. Maybe this, blah, blah, blah. You can't tell us one thing and do the other. You can't say we're the next best thing, yet, you know what? If we don't make it, Mike McCarthy's not the deal. Maybe we got Sean Payton next. You can't do that. And this is what we constantly see with this team. And this is why I think it's a major problem. This team has what it takes, I thought, to definitely to get through this division. But for some reason, again, and I think maybe it is coaching, I really didn't like the Mike McCarthy idea anyways for them.
Yeah,
even though, again, I'm a Giants fan. I wanted them to do terrible. I didn't understand the Mike McCarthy thing. It wasn't until a nice little freaking sleepover to where Jerry Jones and Mike McCarthy maybe froze each other's underpants in the goddamn freezer and had a night of drinking, and then all of a sudden made love, and then now they're best buddies. But now he's ready to kick him out the freaking door to try and get maybe Sean Payton's enticing here. But you got to realize he's still under contract with the Saints still, even though he might have walked away. He's still locked into that whole deal. So now the Saints need to get some kind of compensation for that too as well. So you got to put that in the back of your mind. And are the Cowboys ready to do something like that? So this franchise just run poorly. Like Tom Leiter says, bad ownership. Jerry Jones might have been something to get them to where they did before when it was Troy Aikman, when it was Emmitt Smith. Sacrifice, go over the payroll. They did. They saw the salary cap and they said, F it, we're going over the salary cap to bank on those championships, which they got. But right now, that's all they're hanging their head on. That's all they can do. We had those 9 years in the 90s where we did it. But you know what? By talking to our friend Levon Kirkland right there, dude, they were one interception away from ending that. The Pittsburgh Steelers could have ended something like that and that potential type of franchise being huge.
Guys, you tuned in just in time.
Guys in the house late, hoping
Just
to
in
hear
time.
if you were hammered.
He's slurring
at the
as we
back.
speak, and Tom just told you to drink again.
Drink again, guys. It's been a pleasure. It's been a lot of fun. But did I make great points
All right,
too as well?
You rambled on. Let's get to the point. What do you want? Stock up, stock down, flat line. What do you want?
I told you. I mean, basically in the whole thing. Didn't I? I mean, the Dallas Cowboys, their stock, even though everybody's telling you, it's bullshit. It's like that guy's telling you, yo, buy. This is great shit. And every year, it's garbage.
I
It's
just
garbage.
can't wait.
It is a garbage bet. I'm telling you, the team stock is low. But you know what? People are buying it.
I just can't
nonstop.
wait
They're
until
buying into
after
this
the
garbage,
first-round draft
and it's a
pick.
joke.
That they make. And then after they pick that first-round draft pick, all the Cowboys fans are going to say that they're on their way to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
That's usually
but
how it
that's
works.
what I'm telling you. You're telling me you're on the way to Super Bowl, but then you're telling me also that at one point, with the drop of a hat, your coach is out the door as soon as you can. He's the one to blame to get
Well,
the hell
Sean
out of
Payton
there.
is
and you're
retiring.
going to bring Sean Payton
so
in there.
it's not even going to
I
happen.
don't think so, dude.
It's
You
not gonna
can't tell
happen.
me that.
I can.
All right. Anyways, moving on.
He's retiring.
All right, to the Broncos now. The Denver Broncos, who are again, they've got to be up and trending now because again, you're going to get Aaron Rodgers to go there. He's got to go to Denver because he loves Denver so much.
All right, every time you drop the F-bomb, you got to drink.
That would be tough. I mean, I would have to go upstairs and fill this up again, I think. Maybe.
Tom thinks so.
That's what Tom says. Every time he dropped the F-bomb, he should drink. Maybe guys thinks the same show. Let me suggest once a month this offseason, Football on the No, Drunk History NFL edition. I tell you guys, I could do a mashup of our drunk events.
That would
we
be
had.
awesome.
We could do that. We should do that.
Definitely do
we
that.
can make it a Godzilla media event amongst all of us.
That's
too.
right.
You know what? Let's loosen up Ryan McCarthy and see what we get out of that.
You know what?
You know what I'm
I'm
saying? That
on
might be
board with this
saucy.
idea. This idea sounds like it would be a lot of fun. We just talk drunk history. We'll have a topic like, when the AFL started and the NFL
I
and
tell
the
you,
merger.
let Levac and I get in the same room and drink. I think that would be fun. That would be a lot of fun.
think any of it would be
It would
fun.
be entertaining. So I think some of the other guys on Godzilla Media, and if you guys haven't yet, I know you guys love our show, but go to Godzilla Media on YouTube as well and check out some of the other podcasts too as well. So
Broncos.
appreciate it. Yeah, Broncos, go jump into
No,
it.
go ahead, say it.
No, I'm not going to jump onto them right now. Go ahead, you do it. I have to do the graphics.
Listen,
You jump into
you're not
it.
doing
I just got
anything.
done talking.
You talked for like
I
20
need a
minutes.
drink right now.
Anyway, the Broncos, real quick. I think they're a declining type of franchise right now because you think that you look at what they've done this so far. They bring in Nathaniel Hackett as a head coach, hoping to try to maybe lure Aaron Rodgers over in a trade, try to keep him there. So that's interesting in itself.
Later said sponsorship would end.
The Broncos, too, as much as their defense takes all these accolades for last season of being so great, they were good, don't get me wrong, but they're losing a lot of defensive, talent this season. And not to mention, the defense is going to change. New DC, new head coach, a new way of doing things there in Denver. I just think that, along with losing out on, like, Teddy Bridgewater.
You say Teddy Bridgewater?
Teddy Bridgewater is not going to be available. I don't see them bringing him back unless it's going to be on a higher scale of wage. So Bobby Massey, the right tackle, that experiment didn't really work out well. So this team is still kind of trying to figure things out. They definitely need a lot more talent on the offensive side of the ball in terms of their offensive line. Definitely need that quarterback. And defensively is going to change. So with all those things happening, I'm not so sure that they're going to be tracking upwards at all.
I know, and the thing is, really,
And here's the other thing, too, I want to make a quick point.
Yeah, go
is
ahead,
last
just jump in
draft,
front of me, that's fine.
Last draft,
Cool.
we both were saying that where they were picking, they got to take one of these quarterbacks. Mac Jones was there. They could have took Mac Jones. They could have been in a much different situation right now. But instead, they decided not to take the quarterback. They took a defensive player. And where they're at right now in Patrick Surtain, it's not the answer. And now they're going to be forced to probably draft one this year in a very weak quarterback class.
Oh, yeah. And so that's the thing. This team just constantly makes mistakes. It was one thing for John Elway to step down as president and stuff like that. But now you can see that they've gone all in on trying to get Aaron Rodgers. If they do not get Aaron Rodgers, it is labeled a major disappointment and a failure. And this is what they're doing. They are struggling, gripping at straws to try and get that to save the day, much like they did with the Peyton Manning. That's the only reason they end up getting back to the Super Bowl there. Well, they did have a nice stout defense at that point too to help Peyton Manning, because at that time he was throwing butterflies up in the air too as well. But they're not there even. They're not even there at this point, I think, for them at this team. Right there, Tom Leiter says Manning brothers need to buy them. I'm down with that. Let's have some fun with that. But altogether, this whole banks on if they get Aaron Rodgers. If they don't, their stock is completely down. They've lost all aptitude at all. Everybody's got to sell. Everybody's got to jump ship. They ain't going to do it. They're trying, they're doing what they're doing, get offensive coordinators that he likes, blah, blah, blah. But all said and done, I like what they have on paper for some reason, for some things, not some reason, but some things that they have, like, you know, some of the personnel that they have, especially some of the wide receivers that Aaron Rodgers can throw to. But again, as overall as a franchise, the way they've been run, you might as well stick with what you got in Green Bay right now. All right, so I'm again selling unless they do happen to land Aaron Rodgers, which I think it's a shot in the dark, but I don't think it's happening. All right, next on, moving on to the Detroit Lions. We got a lot of fucking teams to move on here, and there you go. I'm gonna do one.
Can't talk so much about the Cowboys. Time to move on.
Time to move on. We've got
All right.
the Detroit Lions.
That's it. Detroit Lions. There's not a whole lot to say about the Detroit Lions. Just that what I did like this past season is they were very competitive, despite what they were lacking. They still found a way to just kind of find a way to be close in games. They came up short in the end, but I feel like this is a team that could be on the rise. For me, they're tracking upwards because I feel like they found the right coaching staff now. They have their, I mean, which was funny is now their franchise quarterback who's younger in Jared Goff, and they got rid of the older Stafford. They have something to build around now. The offensive line's got to get built better. That defense is definitely got to get more improved. And I think that they definitely have a chance to kind of, get a little bit better after this offseason and track upwards. Get some more wins.
What?
Oh, man.
What an idiot. Oh, what a loser.
Yeah.
Good.
Jared Goff, again, he's got a little bit of a... It's funny how I realize how much of a spaghetti arm he has there, but... Yeah, I like what the coaching staff has done. They've kind of been a nice surprise for me. I think for me, again, they've only got to be... I don't know if they're exactly trending upwards right now, but I think people that have sold already, I think it's a buying market for the Lions right now. I am buying a shit ton of stock in the Lions right now because I think they have nowhere to go but up right now. I like the coaching staff. I like what they've been doing with some of the personnel. I think they can move on from this. And I like the Lions moving forward. Yes, they still have some room to rebuild, but they're young. They already started off this year, and they really showed a lot of people that they played with a lot of heart, even though they were expected to lose a lot of games. They really put it to a lot of other teams too as well. So,
and a couple of surprises.
Yeah. So with the Lions, I think it's a buying market for them. I'm not sure exactly their stock's high. I think now is the time to buy them, and their stock
not
is
high,
go
but they're
high.
definitely tracking in the right direction.
Absolutely there. So it's kind of weird like that. So exactly their stock is low, but I'm saying let's start buying it right now, and it's trending upwards, and you'll make a lot on your dividends. All right, there we go. And we've got the Houston Texans, Joe. This team has been the laughing stock.
Did you
I
skip
think.
a team?
Besides the Jets, I don't think so, but maybe I did. I went from Detroit to Houston somehow, so maybe I.
It was Green Bay.
Green Bay. I might have skipped the Green Bay Packers.
Anyway, we'll talk about Houston because
Houston.
they're
there.
pretty much irrelevant.
Yeah.
Listen, this is one of the worst, actually the worst run organizations in the NFL, and they've proven so the last 3 years. I mean, it's been atrocious. They've gotten rid of top-tier talent. They've gotten rid of coaches, blaming the coaches for ineptitude, and it just seems they just keep making worse and worse decisions. Even if you look at Ryan Culley, who actually was the head coach last season, they point the blame at him for having a losing season and fire him. So I mean, and then in doing so, they end up bringing back a guy like Lovie Smith, who hasn't been a head coach since, I think, was it Tampa Bay or Chicago was the last?
Tampa Bay was the last
Tampa
one.
Bay, he coached there for 2 years and was terrible. Back in Chicago, he was terrible. And now you think all of a sudden he's going to become a good head coach now that he's in Houston with no real talent, and it's a rebuilding type of team. It's absolutely terrible. It's the worst run organization. They're definitely declining. They're on the bottom. They just are flat on the bottom.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that. Again, I think their stock is nothing but lower, but I tell you what, their quarterback has looked nice. It's been a nice surprise of what they've been able to do despite some of the injuries. They made some surprising games out of what they did. But overall, this team is in shambles right now, and we won't know how things trend until they unload Watson. Like Tom says here, he goes, I'd welcome a QB swap. Watson is a talent. I don't imagine that, dude. Imagine. Let's just put this in perspective. Let's say if this really super happens, I don't see it happening. But what do you see if the Texans trade? This is what Tom Leiter's talking about.
Yep.
If the Seattle Seahawks get Deshaun Watson and the Texans get Russell Wilson, which do you think is in the better situation? Which is a better team?
Better team?
Yeah.
Seattle.
Seattle.
Not even close. Seattle. Because what's going to happen with poor Russell Wilson is in Seattle, he's been knocked around with a poor offensive line. Now he's going to an even worse team to protect him with really like hardly any weapons besides Brandon Cooks, maybe if you consider him a major weapon. So that's a bad situation altogether to go to. So I would feel bad for Russell Wilson, but Deshaun Watson would make out in the end. I mean, then he just inherits DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett to throw to, and he's got the same kind of mobility. You know what I mean? He can use his legs if he needs to, and I feel like Seattle will make out big time on that deal. Now, it's going to require more than just the even swap. It's definitely because Deshaun Watson happens to be much younger. It's going to happen to have like maybe even 2 first-round picks and then some change just to get that deal done. I know you're giving up Russell Wilson. I get it. But you're giving up a big contract for a big contract, and because of Watson's youth and the fact that he's already proven himself, that's where those draft picks are going to come into fruition there.
Absolutely. You'd have to give up that compensation. Absolutely. All right, so let's move on to the team that I missed. I missed the Green Bay Packers on that one. The Green Bay Packers, they've got a lot of decisions to make here this upcoming season. Green Bay, and Aaron Rodgers has said that he's been happy that what he's been able to do with this team. Yeah. But, again, he's keeping things open. He's open to staying, too. But, again, if he doesn't, again, you've got Devontae Adams here too, where you got to hold on to. So he's gonna be walking. So this team without Devontae Adams basically is nothing. I don't care what the hell you think of your coach and Matt LaFleur. Like, he had limited, and that's being generous, limited success with the Titans, and I was skeptical about this hire altogether. But because you know what, without Aaron Rodgers, you ain't got shit. Besides that, if they don't have Aaron Rodgers moving it forward into this season, then you might as well give it to any of the other teams that are out there. The Detroit Lions, the Minnesota Vikings, or the Bears. It's up in arms. It's free game. It's fair game right there for everybody. So depending on that change and what happens with Aaron Rodgers, I think left in limbo, I am probably going to just end up selling stock on this team.
Yeah, and that's the thing is because of the uncertainty where Rodgers might finally call home, and the fact that Devontae Adams is now an unrestricted free agent. This is a free agent that might want to move on, especially if Rodgers isn't there. He's definitely out the door. Now, a lot of people say, "Oh, but they're just going to tag him." Well, just so you know, he got paid $14.5 million this past season. The problem is with that is if you tag him, then he's going to be due to be making upwards to $20-22 million range as a wide receiver, and on top of that, you don't have a lot of cap space. So Green Bay usually doesn't splurge on one player to try to keep him there. I mean, obviously Rodgers is a different story. I've heard reports come out and say that they're willing to pay him to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL once again, and maybe to retain him. But if you do that, that means you got so much less wiggle room to try to keep guys like Kevin King, your corner at 26 years old, due to be 27. Devontae Adams is going to be almost impossible to keep at that point. Robert Tonyan. The list goes on. So you're missing out on some potential starters just to sign Rodgers. So and even if you don't sign Rodgers, you're still going to have to be creative with the salary cap to retain anybody, to retain most of the guys that are out there. So Devontae Adams, I feel like he might want to go. He might want a chance to maybe rekindle a relationship that he once had in college with Derek Carr in Las Vegas. I know that story's been out there like crazy. But also, it's definitely predicated on what Rodgers does. And the other thing that I'll say about Rodgers and his decision-making is that he didn't stir up this big pot of stew in the middle of the season to just be like, oh, no, I'm coming back. I just wanted the whole, charade of media. I feel like he is almost dead set that he wants out of Green Bay. And it could be a likely destination like San Francisco. I mean, that's where he's from. He's from California. I don't think he would mind playing with the Niners, because then that team was already in the playoffs. You add Rodgers to that team, it might make him a Super Bowl caliber team. And then there's other avenues. Look at Tampa Bay. They don't have Tom Brady. They don't have a quarterback. You bring in Rodgers in Tampa, maybe all those free agents are more likely to return at a little bit low a discount. So a lot of things are in play here, but Green Bay's got a lot to figure out. Adams is going to be tough to retain regardless. I think he moves on, and Rodgers is going to be very interesting to follow.
Yeah, absolutely. You're talking about rekindling relationships and things like that. I want to talk about my relationship with Colorize, Joe. Colorize, they've been a great sponsor for us this year, throughout everything, throughout the whole year, throughout the Super Bowl. If you guys are looking to do a renovation at your home, or you're looking to match a color that's something that you have around your house that you want to touch up, just go check out our friends there at Colorize. 3 locations in Queensbury, Clifton Park, and also in Niskayuna. Talk to my man Link; he can take care of you. Absolutely, they've been a big, strong supporter of the show. Check them out at mycolorize.com, and they can hook you guys up. Absolutely. But Aaron Rodgers, again, he's the big story. Mm-hmm. He's going to be moving on. I think with the 49ers, that's scary, because you look at Kyle Shanahan with what they were able to do with just Jimmy G at Aaron Rodgers. That's a true, definite, like a lot more touchdowns than what they're doing right now. So, and Tom Leiter says, but wait, there's more. And absolutely. That's what they bring. That's what they bring to the table. So right now, the Packers, they've got a lot of searching within themselves to see what they can do. All right, moving on. We've got the Indianapolis Colts. Holy shit, Joe! I'm feeling it right now, buddy.
Are you feeling it? You're almost done.
I'm almost done, buddy. Almost getting there. But the Colts, I haven't looked at their free agent list right now.
It's not too bad.
If it's not too bad, how are they looking on Carson Wentz? Because there's been a lot of talk, especially by Colin Cowherd, about some of these other teams that maybe they should pick up Carson Wentz to fill in the gap. I don't think Carson Wentz is the deal anymore. You know what I mean? I don't think he's the guy to get you over the hump for a lot of other things. He's been serviceable for some situations, but I think he's already damaged goods. There's plenty of other quarterbacks I'd probably grab before him. But what do you think about that situation?
I think this is yet another destination that Rodgers could look into. This could be
it would make them better.
This could be a potential trade where if Rodgers was to go to Indianapolis and they were able to consummate a trade here, where you send Wentz. I know it sounds funny, but you send Wentz to Green Bay to compete for the starting job with Jordan Love, and then you get Rodgers. Obviously, you're going to have to give up draft picks as well as on top of Wentz, but you add Rodgers to this team with this already really good offensive line, great running back, kind of something similar that he had in Green Bay. The only thing is they need to improve the wide receiver core. If they were able to do that this offseason, that offense would be so amazing, on top of a defense that is seen as one of the better defenses in the league, that could catapult this franchise not only into the playoffs, but maybe even all the way to the Super Bowl. So they're not that far off. They might look at it when you look at their roster and stuff, but I'm telling you, they could make some big strides, especially if they were able to add a guy like Rodgers to this team. As far as free agents go, it looks like they might be moving on from some veterans, some older guys. Like you look at Eric Fisher at left tackle, looks like they might be looking to draft a left tackle this upcoming draft, or maybe even at the very least free agency, adding one. But T.Y. Hilton is getting older. He's 32 years old. He was injured heavily this past season. So maybe you move on from him, let him go. Maybe re-sign Mark Lewinsky to lock up that guard spot. But then other than that, Xavier Rhodes and Mo Alley Cox, so they got some decisions to make in the free agency list here. But other than that, I see this is definitely a team for me that's trending upwards. As long as they make that decision, and I think they already have. I think as far as Carson Wentz goes, he's out. I feel like they're going to look for the next quarterback to run this offense. So definitely on an upward trend, I would think.
For me, if they pull the trigger on Aaron Rodgers, yes, they can do it. As far as Carson Wentz, I think they're only as far as they can get. So for me, the Colts stock, I think for me is low. I mean, I'm not.
Wentz
really
isn't going to
sold
be
on
there, mind you.
Yeah, so there you
They're
go.
moving on
So
from
I'm done. I'm selling. I'm selling all day long. Stock is very low for me. I'm not gonna buy in on them. All right, so moving on is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now that they have a new head coach in Doug Peterson, and I think now that they moved on from Urban Meyer, that stock can only be that much higher after a guy that just likes to kick the kicker and other people and do terrible things and just explode up in his face, and it's glorious because I thought it would be disastrous and it ended up being that way. I think this could be nice. Although Doug Peterson has had his problems throughout the season, throughout the NFL in his career at times, he has shown that he has had success. He has won the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. So Trevor Lawrence, along with that, and if they can get some more weapons to help him out, I know DJ Chark is a big question mark for them.
He's a free agent.
I know it's going to be a free agent, but are they going to re-sign him or not?
I don't know.
Are they going to let him roll? There's a big thing with that.
I think because he's coming off an injury, they got options. They could be another big time player. They got a lot of money in cap space at their disposal. So look for them to be.
Tom Leiter says they need an O-line.
Look for them to be big players at wide receiver. I mean, a lot of these big names like Allen Robinson, maybe he makes a return back to Jacksonville in free agency. There's guys like Juju Smith-Schuster that are going to be available. There's, maybe Devontae Adams, but I don't see him going to Jacksonville. But that being said, and Chris Godwin, because I'm not really 100% sure that Tampa Bay is going to be able to afford to keep Godwin. He might be out there as well. So they definitely have to shore up that offensive line for sure, Tom. You're right on that one. And the thing is that makes it worse is that a lot of them are free agents this year. Almost their whole starting O-line is free agents. Cam Robinson, their left tackle, he's 26 years old, free agent. And he's been injured heavily. Andrew Norrell, guard, free agent. A.J. Cann, guard, free agent. These are all starters, mind you. So the only one that is kind of remaining is their center and their right tackle. So that is a huge, huge change. So hopefully they can get that figured out. For Trevor Lawrence and company. But I think Doug Peterson is a good hire because he's going to help further develop Trevor Lawrence, and it's going to make this team better in the long run. I will say that with the coaching change and the fact that they did make that draft pick on Trevor Lawrence, I feel like they are going to get better. So because of all that, I feel like they are going to slightly track upwards. For me, now that they made that coaching change and everything, I feel like they will get better. Definitely rebuilding.
Jacksonville Jaguars, same thing. Again, I think now's the time to buy, and their stock can only trend upwards. Let's take a look at the Kansas City Chiefs. For me, I think their stock is going to be trending downwards. No offense, but I think you've had the personnel that you had for so long. You've had multiple coaches that have been successful, that have been up for grabs for head coaching jobs that
Nobody
have not
wants
got
them.
hired. You still have Andy Reid there. People have figured out what you're doing. Patrick Mahomes has made it into it's about me and I'm Superman. I'm going to do the best I can to try and win the game for everything and just make a lot of mistakes and be what he is. I think they're probably going to be trending downwards, and now they're going to be trying to figure out a lot of different situations, what they have with the players that they have, money situations, and it's going to be a big kind of piece things here, there, and everywhere.
Here's the one thing that I'll say is, like, this upcoming offseason, the Chiefs got some tough decisions to make. Orlando Brown, the right tackle who they traded for last year from the Ravens to kind of help shore up that offensive line, he's a free agent. He's due to be a free agent. They're going to have to re-sign him because they can't let him walk. But they don't have a ton of cap space. So they got to be careful with how they critique this contract to maintain him. And also on top of that, the heart and soul of the defense for the Chiefs, Tyrann Mathieu, is also due to be a free agent.
True. Yeah.
If they lose him, you can kiss this defense goodbye. Because I know one player doesn't make a defense or doesn't make a team. However, he is such an important asset to the Chiefs on the back
Honey
end.
Badger don't care.
That
Honey Badger don't give a shit. It just takes what it
it's
wants.
just absolutely incredible. So I think that right there, it's going to go through a little bit of change if they lose him and or even Orlando Brown too. This team, I don't think they're trending downwards. They're still competitive. They still made the playoffs. They're still, in that conversation of one of the better teams in the NFL. So until that happens, actually I'll say this: after this year, I will say decline. Because after this year is when some of those big-time contracts like Tyreek Hill is going to come up looking for a new deal and company. So this year, trending upward still.
Tom Layer says they have a franchise quarterback, but who's better in that division? Herbert?
Who's better than who? Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah.
I would say, honestly, if I'm being completely honest with you, Tom, because I've noticed Mahomes have his own faults. Not being as accurate as everyone claims him to be. Making some bad decisions from time to time. And I understand every quarterback can and will do that. But there's some facets to his game that I don't like as a quarterback. And I would take Herbert over Mahomes. I would even take Derek Carr over Mahomes.
Boom. There it is. But yeah, that's the thing. That's always bothered me.
He tries to do too many gimmick plays and make something happen.
Too much. Try to do so much on your what is it? It's like your ability, your athletic ability. Play too much into that whole thing to where you're making a lot of bonehead mistakes. Like really, you got to think smarter than that. And I know you're capable of doing some of these things, but you can't do it every single time. And I think that's what Joseph. But Tom Leiter says what? Maybe about the whole maybe Derek Carr over Patrick Mahomes. That might have broke the internet.
Yeah,
right
really
there on that one. But
really.
But we saw Derek Carr.
Yes. Yes, Tom.
Yeah, see, that's
Carr
what it
over
is.
Mahomes.
But
Absolutely.
we saw Derek Carr also in that Giants game when we were there
100%.
live make some certain mistakes though too. So I mean, you got to be like sitting there like really though too.
That's play calling, bro.
But
that was bad play calling.
I don't know. But let's talk about the team that he also brought up, and that's the Joe needs to drink.
No, I don't think I need to drink. I think everyone needs to open their eyes.
Drink the Kool-Aid.
I think you need to open your eyes.
Oh, there you go. You got the Chargers, and the thing is about it is like I like the idea about Herbert, how he can shrug off the mistakes that you make and just keep going and stuff like that. But also, if you keep compounding mistakes, that starts to bother me and starts to get onto it too as well. It's fine, you can shrug it off. It's like the whole thing with Daniel Jones. It's like he's got that demeanor to like, yeah, I make the mistakes, but I'll keep going. I'll keep fighting. And I'm a dog or whatever. But it's like, that's cool and all. But why don't you just start with stop making the fucking mistakes? You know what I mean? And that's sometimes what happens, I think, with me, with Justin Herbert. It's like he does a lot of great things, but then some of the things he does, too, you're kind of like, oh, man, just get by that a little bit. I understand where the Chargers are, with what they have. I know Mike Williams, he's going to be a free agent here. I don't think they exactly need to lock him in and try to bring him back. I think there's enough out there they can bring another guy in there besides him. I know he was starting to trend and come back this year, which was nice for them. But I think they go elsewhere there. And as far as I'm concerned here with the stock, I think stock is pretty high here with the Cardinals, with the Chargers, and I think they've got a great shot here. I'm buying in on the Chargers.
Oh wow, we moved over to the Chargers already.
Yeah.
All right. Here's what I'll say about the Chargers: is I'm not a fan of them going for it on fourth down every time they get a chance. I think
a big thing,
and
too.
I think it backfired heavily down the stretch. Not so much early in the season. They seemed to get away with it. They were pretty successful at fourth down conversions, and that's kind of why they kind of kept being aggressive down the stretch, but it really did bite them. They lost some key games that could have catapulted them into that playoff race over the Raiders. And because of those bad decisions by the head coach, I feel like that's what drove this team into being kicked out of the playoffs. So I like the aggressive style, don't get me wrong, but I think there's definitely times that you're able to do that, and then there's other times when you should hold back on it, and he didn't get that. So hopefully he learns from his mistakes this season into next season. But as far as the team goes, I feel like they're trending upwards. They're definitely trending upwards. You got a good franchise quarterback in Justin Herbert. You have some weapons to play with, but only for a limited time. Keenan Allen's not going to last forever. He's getting up there in age. So I wonder how long he's going to last as a Charger, or maybe he decides to retire. Who knows? Josh Palmer was a nice draft pick for them at wide receiver, so maybe they can groom him up. But Austin Eckler at running back, they have weapons. And defensively, this is a defense that we saw as young as they were. We thought they were going to be even better this year, and I didn't really see it. They were getting exposed, even though they have a good pass rush and some decent pieces on the back end. It didn't seem like they were, as good as kind of like what we thought they were going to be. So I still think they're trending upwards for me. They're still on that roll. But yeah, Chargers are on their way up.
Yeah, I agree with you there on that one. Now moving on to the Los Angeles Rams, who just won the Super Bowl. Again, they're trying to run it back here. Aaron Donald said he's ready to come back. They got to figure out what's going on. Matthew Stafford, Odell Beckham Jr., he said he's willing to come back on the cheap, and you would think they would have to, especially after a second ACL tear. They could probably bring him back because a lot of other people might not, just because of what's going on with him. So if anything, it would be them on the super duper cheap. But right now, they're on the highest level right now. They got to be able to win right now. They got to be one of the favorites, but their window is very small. So right now, I think their stock is still high, but within the next year, it's going to be dropping easily.
Yeah, I mean, you got the receiver Robert Woods that's going to be returning next year.
That's a positive.
So, and he'll be healthy way before Odell will, because Odell got injured in the Super Bowl. He's not going to be ready for training camp at all. He might even miss part of the season. So, with that being said, the Rams got to make a really quick decision. Do they try to re-sign Odell Beckham before he even goes through his injury? Which would be crazy. I don't think that would ever happen. And if that's the case, he's going to be a free agent, because you're not going to re-sign a guy who's hurt. You don't know how he's going to return. You don't know if he's going to be back to his normal self, how fast he's going to be able to run, because this isn't the first time it's happened to him. So with that, indecision and not knowing, I feel like they're just going to kind of let him go into free agency, and when he gets healthy, then maybe give him a call back and see where he's at. That type of deal. But he very well could go somewhere else. I know that he's expressed interest in returning to the Rams because they got him a chip. They got him there. He wants to come back. He loves the fact that he had Stafford as a quarterback and Cooper Kupp as a teammate. But you also got Robert Woods now. You got Van Jefferson. So, this is where that tough decision-making is going to have to happen. But the Rams, as good as they are, and as phenomenal as they played, in the Super Bowl, I do like what they got going for them. I think they're tracking upwards. But here's the thing, too, is disclaimer, they got to re-sign Stafford. They can't allow him to walk out of the building and be a free agent.
That's their main situation.
And they are $74 million over.
Yeah.
They are in very bad shape. So you might see some big-time pieces get cut, like a Ramsey. Donald, if he does even fact retire, that's going to come off the books eventually. So they got a big transition. I feel like, listen, they did what they set out to do. They pushed all the chips to the table, and they won the chip. But now the debt collectors come back to collect, and you need to hand over some of your assets. So this is going to be a very interesting way how they move forward. But betting on that, they're trending upwards, but they might take a deep dive downwards if all this blows up.
Oh, yeah, here he goes. Now we moved on to the Las Vegas Raiders. Switching personnel, too, as well, with everything that happened throughout the season with John Gruden. You've got Rich Bisaccia there. A lot of people credited him with the success that they had later in the season, making through the playoffs. But really, I'm on board with what you're saying with what Derek Carr has been able to do and really bond that team together to get them moving forward. I think it was more him than the head coach. But then that team, despite the problems that they had with Ruggs, the issues that he had too, and you're hearing more and more about rests here and there, still fighting through diversity and still finding places to win. And even in being in the city that they're in, I think right now this team's stock is still pretty high moving forward.
I feel like, as a Raiders fan, I try not to get too excited or too down or anything like that. I try to see it is what it is. The Josh McDaniels.
I plead the fifth.
The Josh McDaniels hire is an interesting one. I feel like it's going to be different than when his last tenure was 12 years ago with Denver.
Yeah.
Because with Denver Broncos, they didn't have a quarterback, and they were desperate to get one. So they go out and they make a desperation move, and they get Tim Tebow, and Josh thinks he can make it work. It didn't work. But it was so quick that he got fired, which kind of was a little puzzling. Much like, David Culley, who got fired after one season. Josh McDaniels got fired after a season and 12 games. So he didn't really get a real legitimate chance to be the head coach for at least a few years. So let's see what he can do with this team now. Definitely a very imaginative type of play caller. He's got a quarterback now in Derek Carr. So if they listen, the Raiders managed to make it to the first round of the playoffs this year, despite all the turmoil that they had to go through. It looks like they're assembling a good coaching staff. They need to revamp with talent on the defensive side, and that's going to be a little bit of change because Patrick Graham came from you guys as DC over to us. So that's going to be a little bit of change, something to get used to. I feel like the team is trending upwards, but at the same point in time, it's going to depend on what they do with offensive additions, whether it be free agency and draft. So let's see what they can do. I like what they're doing right now. They're treading upwards, but they definitely need to retain some of their key free agents because a lot of them, and I mean a lot of them, are on one-year deals.
Tom Myers says if he doesn't back out at the last moment like he did for Indy. That's the thing
it's
I
too
was
late.
thinking about too. Yeah,
it's too late, Tom. He already signed the deal.
It's funny that he backed out of the Indy deal, but he goes all in on the Las Vegas deal. For that whole thing. I'm wondering if quarterback made a difference for them. I don't know.
I would think so. Let's. If I remember correctly, who was there?
Maybe it was really that Andrew Luck was going to be there, but I mean, maybe he retired like a third game in.
Maybe
the
he
season,
knew something.
Maybe he knew something.
Maybe he knew something. I don't know.
It's kind of weird.
And then they had Jacoby Brissett as the starter after that.
All right, now moving on to the Miami Dolphins. To not get into a whole lot with this whole thing, again, I think they were trending upward. What Brian Flores was able to do for his team,
When he
despite
was
what
there.
his is ownership had tried to do, to try to losing and trying to all this. Blah,
Fuck
blah.
you, Stephen Ross.
I think with the trades and be able to get who they got, but then also now with Mike Gesicki's basically saying, here, pay the other tight end, get him, lock him in, don't worry about me. That says something there that says basically he's ready to move on and saying, here, take care of this guy, he's a good guy, and let him be the guy. I'm ready to leave. And the fact that they moved on from Brian Flores, which I think was going in the right direction.
Yeah.
And who they got now, I think is gonna kind of hit the reset button a little bit. So for me, it kind of messed up their stock. I was trending upwards with it, but now I'm selling on this whole thing. So I think their stock is low right now.
This is a tricky one for me because I love the talent on the roster. They're very young. They're like this up-and-coming Miami Dolphins team that we saw a year ago with Brian Flores. And a disappointing season, but the talent is still there, and they're still building it. So, I mean, I like what I see on the roster. I like the additions that they've made. This next offseason is going to be critical to determine the path that they're going to take. I know it's a new coaching staff. Mike McDaniels, who was the former offensive coordinator of the Niners, comes over. Some people are giddy over this. Some people are like, what the fuck are we doing? But I feel like he's going to bring that similar style of offense that the Niners that like to run to the Dolphins, and I feel like it might play off way better for Tua. And if that does in fact happen, and they do manage to add some more weapons on the offensive side and shore up that offensive line, I think that this team could trend upwards. So I'm going to say that I'm going to go with it, even though it's going to be kind of like a different year with coaching. I'm still going to be on board with them trending upwards.
Oh, wow. All right. Trending upwards. Tom Leiter says F-bomb. Drink. I don't know. Did I drop an F-bomb or did you drop an F-bomb? I don't think I did. Did I?
Doesn't matter who says it.
I don't know, but I don't have anything to drink right now unless I go excuse myself for a little bit. But we definitely appreciate you guys joining us tonight, too. It's been a lot of fun.
Tom's a trooper. He's still hanging in there.
He's hanging in there. I don't know how it's going right now because I'm in my own place right now, but I hope you guys are enjoying it. This is definitely interesting for me, and I've had a lot of fun. But we're getting down to the end of this list here, and we're talking about the Minnesota Vikings and what they've been able to do. And Mike Zimmer, they moved on from him now. He was not the guy here, even though he had the super hot younger girlfriend and everything and stuff like that. It didn't work out for him. And Kirk Cousins, he's hanging out for the Seahawks. I'm sorry. We'll get to there. We'll get there. But we said it earlier. I did not think Kirk Cousins was the idea in the first place. And now you're there and you hung out. Maybe you should have held on to Case Keenum for a little bit longer. But now you are where you are. Your defense is getting old, and now you're screwed. You know what I mean? So for them, I like what they have in Justin Jefferson. It's a nice tandem that they have there, wide receiver. He's changing things around the NFL. Everybody's doing the gritty all over the freaking place now. It's crazy. It's crazy what people are doing with that. But the Vikings, they've kind of been that kind of team. They've been there, but you got Aaron freaking Rodgers that just shows them up every single time. And the reason you sold in on Kirk Cousins and what you promised everybody else with Dalvin Cook and the personnel that you have, we have enough to beat Aaron Rodgers, to do it, to get us to the promised land, and you haven't done it. Now you've got a new regime moving in there, trying to change things. For me, I'm selling at this point. Whatever. I don't think you're going to be able to pull it around with what you have already there. I think the new guys are going to come in. They're going to change some things, and it's time to move on. Yeah, maybe in a few years we'll see what you got.
It's interesting to see what Kevin O'Connell is going to be able to do with this offense.
We'll see, though, because there's a lot of credit that goes to him.
Yeah.
A lot of people give to Sean McVay. So what is it all him? I don't know.
Well, let's take it. Let's take it for what it is. Sean McVay calls the plays. Kevin O'Connell does not call the plays.
Right.
So until that happens, I don't give. I mean, yes, he might get some credit for game planning for the week leading up to the game or something like that. But in the end, it's McVay's offense. It's McVay calling the plays. Kevin O'Connell's going to form an offense that's going to be somewhat similar to it. Not exact, but it's going to be similar because listen, it's not like he was sitting under Sean McVay and didn't learn anything. So he definitely picked up on a few things here and there. And that's what you're going to see on the football field for the Vikings. I still feel like this team, the roster is better than what they performed last season. And I know it's a new regime and it's a new coaching staff. They're going to have to learn a new offense. I'm not 100% sure if the offense fits the current players that are on the team. So because of that, because of the change up at the leader, I don't know. I think that their window is – we said this before, that their window was closing. Anthony Barr, who's been, got re-signed by the Vikings at linebacker. He's 29 years old. Looks like he's going to be a free agent. I'm not really 100% sure they're going to be able to bring him back again. And then you got some other, aging type of players that were starters last year, but now they're looking to leave too. So I think they might be jumping ship now because of the new regime that's in place, and I feel like that's going to make this team kind of decline a little bit as well.
All right, next up we've got the New Orleans Saints. I'm just going to tell you flat out right now, without Sean Payton, without really true quarterback and things like that, the question marks that are all over this team, I'm selling all day long. I'm like, dude, get me out of this. I've already lost my freaking money on this whole thing. I should have sold them last year when I could get some value for it, but right now they're at their lowest, I think, in the last 10 years. So...
yeah, I mean, the
Saints
Saints
got a lot of soul searching to do right now.
I would say soul searching. I would say they're going to have to figure out how to get out of purgatory. And that's the problem. Is Tom, you're right. Franchise quarterback, they don't have one. Taysom Hill project has failed, and they're stuck with him right now. They signed him to an extension. Sean Payton retires. Now there's no more of that big time creativity on offense. I don't know how this offense is going to look going forward.
How about to do that? I'm Sean Payton. Say, hey, I'm sold on this guy Taysom Hill. I'm going to give him a deal that's laden with a bunch of different incentives because I really like this kid. And then all of a sudden I retire. There you go. You guys are left with this guy.
McVay doesn't do the contract, so McVay just said.
I'm saying Sean Payton. Yeah.
Sean Payton likes the guy, so he tells the GM, hey, is there any way we can keep him? Yeah, sure. Let me do up this contract for him. So that's fine and all. But, I mean, and he didn't expect to retire either. You know what I mean? Like, he thought that he was going to retire or he was going to coach this year and then probably coach next year or whatever. But in the end, this team is going to go through a major overhaul. And so much so that you could see them part ways with, Alvin Kamara. Big names, Marshawn Lattimore, Ryan Ramczyk, because they are so far over the cap that they either need to restructure all these types of these big-time contracts to get the cap number lowered, and on top of that, they still might have to cut a bunch of guys. So this is going to be a huge hurdle to get over, and not to mention they still have to rebuild. They don't have a quarterback. Michael Thomas they want to keep. But how are you going to keep him with the salary cap that you're under right now? So I look for Thomas to maybe even get moved from New Orleans onto another team. So, New Orleans definitely declining.
My dick fell off!
Yeah, absolutely. So next, we're moving on to the New York Giants. Again, the problems that they've had time and time again, I think their stock is probably as low as it can possibly go. I'm saying there you go. It's just low. We'll see what happens with Brian Daboll and Joe Shane and what they can do with maybe what they have. By now, you've already lost whatever stock you might have in the wide receivers that they have there. I mean, it's in shambles, and they're trusting in Daniel Jones for this one season that they maybe can try and fix something that they have in him, but it's probably for nothing. So, like I said, stock is as low as it can get. I'm saying buy it right now while it's low, and then we'll see what happens. They have nothing else to do but trend forward after this.
This is a team that is also because of the coaching change, is going to go through.
It's
Going to be way different. As much as I was excited for their defense before Patrick Graham left, now I'm not so excited because it's going to change. They're going to have to learn a new defense. It might not fit the current players that are there already.
Like Sterling Shepard, like stuff. They should have moved on from him and Evan Ingram a long time ago, and now it's just too late. You can't get nothing for him.
Well, they could still move on from him, and that's if
just cut him, though.
and that's if that's if they feel like they need to. You know what I mean? Like Brian Daboll's obviously going to evaluate the roster. He's going to figure out who he likes, who he doesn't like, and he's going to change it. It's going to all be different. He might just flat out cut Evan Ingram. He might just trade him for a 6th-round pick or something. But changes are going to be, made up front. I'm not 100% sold with maintaining Daniel Jones as a starter. I'm hoping that the Giants have a plan to at least give him some competition, for the upcoming season. And if they don't, I really can't get on board with the Giants right now. I think there's going to be too much change and too much turnover on the roster that I think it's going to be so much different that they're going to be declining.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on that one. I'm sure Tom does as well. Here we go. We got the New York Jets. And this is the thing. The difference between the Jets and the Giants, like the Jets I thought were going to be shitty anyways, all right? The Giants, they had some things that you looked at. You're like, all right, personnel-wise, with Kenny Golladay and some of the additions that they made, you're like, oh, wow, this could look really good. But the Jets, some of the teams that they beat this year, they beat the Bengals. They beat the Titans. They beat some teams like that. Just playing with heart and just being able to play up to those types of games, even though they don't have the personnel, technically, to compete and play with some of those guys. I think Robert Saleh's got them in that mindset to get them going to move forward into something better to try and do that stuff. But now for them, they got to really hit the draft board hard and start getting some personnel in there to fit what they want to do and to get this franchise moving forward. On the Giants, the other end, it was just a totally different thing where they tried to piece together with free agency and trying to get things going that way. It just didn't work out. So they're on the reset. Jets, they've got their young quarterback. It's time to see what they can get out of them. Maybe they absolutely sucked on the whole pick and they screwed up. But now it's time to figure it out and get them some weapons and see what they're made of. Jets, as far as stock, it's tough again because right now it's got to be low. So for me, stock is low, but now it's time to buy because they can only do anything else but trend forward.
You're a great salesman, bro.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying because you got to buy it when it's low. And then you make more on your dividends. That's the way the stock market rolls, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but we're not buying teams.
Well, this is what I'm saying. You're talking about team stock. Team stock is low right now because the Jets, you see them.
You think so?
Jets green, they suck. Jets suck, all right? But right now, I think they can trend forward. They have nothing else to do but go forward. So
true.
You got to buy.
First and foremost, we knew last year the Jets were going to go through a rebuild. They got the new coaching staff and everything. They drafted their franchise quarterback who actually showed some flashes late down the stretch of becoming that guy that they truly wanted in a quarterback. A very young team that still kind of got jumbled together. They picked up some free agent wide receivers, smacked them together, and hoping something would ignite. But they still got a little ways to go. They got to further develop that offensive line. And they did a good job last season. But if they can finish off and get like a really good, legitimate right tackle, that could really kind of help this offense moving forward. Still need a running back. I don't care who they drafted. Michael Carter wasn't the answer. Didn't see enough from him. And get him better weapons. Get him more improved weapons. I feel like the defense, we all know that that's going to go through a major overhaul because they still don't have good corners. And they got something to work with back there with C.J. Mosley. But in the end, we all knew this was going to happen. It's going to take them a couple years to get on track. So I see with the talent that they have on the roster, I see them trending upwards. It's not going to be overnight. It's not going to be last season and then all of a sudden they're going to be good. It's not going to be next season. But probably 3 or 4 years down the road, if they stay on the right path, they can be a legitimate team.
I tell you that C.J. Mosley thing was an absolute mistake. But you know what? If they get like say a guy like James Conner in the house too, that running back situation with a 1-2 tandem, I would really like that on offense as well. I think that would be working nice for them, for the Jets, and it would be something great moving forward. But look at the Patriots. They really showed what they could potentially do this year. Mac Jones shined, but then again, when the lights were on and everything came down to it, all together, they showed a little bit early what they could do, but they're just not exactly ready, I think, at this point. But I think their stock is high, so I'm selling in here on the Patriots. I'm buying what they're doing. I think their stock is high. They hit, I think, on their quarterback. They got the quarterback that they thought they wanted, that they deserved, and here we go. Here comes Bill Belichick. Watch out, everybody in the AFC East.
Yeah, this is the quarterback that we pegged to be the Patriots quarterback. Mm-hmm. If they were able to get him, I thought good things were going to happen. It fits the system perfectly. However, this Patriots team is going to go through a little bit of a change. They spent a boatload of money last year in terms of free agents and what have you. This year, it looks like they might be losing guys like Devin McCourty, Trenton Brown, the right tackle. Donta Hightower is a free agent. J.C. Jackson's a free agent. Ted Karras is a free agent. As you can hear all these names, these are all big-time starters for the Patriots. So those few names that I listed, they're going to be really hard to retain because it's going to command a lot of money. And I'm not so sure that the Patriots want to go back down that road like they did last season. So it might go through a little bit of a change, but I still like what the Patriots have as a whole, and they're definitely trending upwards now that they have their franchise quarterback.
Yeah, again, J.C. Jackson is the main guy, too, because he's kind of been that nice storyline for them. You know, I mean, at corner, you remember the good corners that they had, Asante Samuel, things like that, the McCourty brothers right there. J.C. Jackson has been a nice guy that they've got since his rookie year and really shined for them. So I think for them to try and lock him in, I think would be a crucial moment for the Patriots to do something like that. And Hightower, although he's had success for them, you've seen the Patriots just move on from older talent like that and just said, we'll just let it ride. Go look what's out there. Let's see what you got. If you don't find anybody, sure, come on back to us. But if not, go ahead. We'll see what you play the field out there. You know what I mean? We're willing to let you walk. And I think that'll happen probably with Hightower.
I'm just going to laugh if Hightower leaves and goes to Vegas.
Right.
It's just going to I'm going to be like, are we just going to get like
all
the former Patriot free agents?
That way sometimes with the Patriots former
oh
coaches.
God.
But here now that we're moving on to the Philadelphia Eagles, and this team always catches me by surprise. And I don't know if it's just for me because I'm just such a Giants fan that I always pick them to be the worst. And it's just terrible. But then sometimes, again, Jalen Hurts, what he does, he's able to win some games. And what they do kind of keeps them in the conversation. They're kind of a weird team. You know what I mean? I don't know if you feel the same way, Joe. But the Eagles, for me, I don't think they exactly suck. But they're kind of like that in-between team. They're tough to read. And I think sometimes Sirianni, the coach, I think
terrible hire.
He screws up more games than they really have. Like they can win a lot more, and he screws it up more than what they do. Because I think they really have a higher potential, but I think he finds ways to lose games more than he does to win.
Absolutely, spot on with that. I mean, Nick Sirianni, I wasn't excited when I heard the coaching hire. I'm like, what is this guy going to do? Oh, well, he was the offensive coordinator for the Colts under Frank Reich. No, he wasn't. Frank Reich was the guy calling the plays. And Nick Sirianni, based off that, just like a lot of coordinators this year, based off of their head coaches who call the plays, they're getting head coaching jobs, and they must be taught how to interview, because they must be impressing people in the interview process somehow with maybe their passion or their excitement, something like that. But wow, I was blindsided by this hire. And then when I was like, well, I don't think this is going to work out too well. The Eagles are probably going to look for another coach in the next couple of years or three. So This team, you're right. They're a funky team. They're not really sure what they're going to be. I'm not even sure even if they have an identity yet. We know that they like Jalen Hurts, but at the same point in time, I like his mobility. I like his ability to throw the football. But some of the plays that were called, I really question, and I think that's what led to some of Hurts' struggles and the run game struggles early on. So this team, I just offensively, I'm not thrilled about it. So I feel like they're declining. And on top of it all, I do like the Eagles' offensive line. That's one thing that they got going for them. But it looks like they might be, in jeopardy of losing guys like Rodney McLeod, Anthony Harris at free safety, Derek Barnett at D-end. Steven Nelson is going to be a free agent, one of the better slot corners in the league. And then Ryan Kerrigan, the pass rusher. So just to name a few, not crazy. They're still going to be okay. Even if they were to lose all those guys, they'll still find people to replace them with, maybe in the draft or whatever. But they're one of those weird teams that I just can't get on board, because just when I think I'm like, oh, yeah, it looks like they're going to trend upward. They're going to do something. And then it's like, how did they blow that game? You know what I mean? And sure enough, Nick Sirianni's behind it. So, yeah, they're declining for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, moving on to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are moving on from Big Ben again. So now they have said they're willing to stick with what they have. And that Mason Rudolph is not it. Duck Dynasty is not it for them, too, as well. So that's why you've heard them in the conversations of maybe trying to move in a person like Aaron Rodgers or somebody like that. And right now, Pittsburgh, they're at a time where it's going to be something different. They're used to staying stable, being that franchise that can still stay in it, winning as many Super Bowls as they have, being as relevant as they had. And
Tom,
you know what I'll say. Yeah, absolutely.
Franchise quarterback.
Yeah, franchise quarterback. That's the problem. And they don't have it.
Not anymore.
They're losing at the end. It stinks because TJ Watt's playing at a nice level for them, but the Steelers, they're identified by their defense. And they can only make it as far as their defense will take them this year. And without a quarterback, it's not going to be very far. So for me, for the Steelers, stock is very low.
Yeah, the stock is definitely low, and I think they're declining just because of the reason, like, they don't have Big Ben anymore. They don't seem like they have an answer for the potential future quarterback that's going to be put in place. It's almost funny because I heard from a Pittsburgh journalist that he seems to think that Mike Tomlin and the Steelers, wait for it, are prepared to utilize the current quarterback group that they have for a starter. So Mason Rudolph, you get a shot to be the starter. But if you're a football fan and you've watched some of the games with him quarterbacking, you already know the answer. It's not going to work out well. So, and they did pull off a trade and got Dwayne Haskins, but they're not as high on him as Rudolph. And maybe it's because he's still trying to learn the offense. Maybe he just needs more time. But in the end, two quarterbacks that aren't really, going to give any positivity to the future of the Steelers. So hopefully Mike Tomlin and company come to their senses and say, hey, you know what? Maybe we should go out and try to get somebody different. Maybe we should. Hey, I hear Jimmy G is available. And with your offense, I feel like Jimmy G would be very good in it. Listen, you still have Chase Claypool. It looks like you're going to miss out on Juju, so you're going to have to replace that receiver there. But you got some nice pieces. Got two tight ends that work out pretty well. You got Najee Harris in the backfield. That offensive line is absolutely atrocious. So before you get any quarterback, me and Jim both were like pleading with you guys last year to re it up. But definitely upgrade that offensive line. Defense is your strength. Improve the offense as much as you can, and maybe, just maybe, they might be able to be competitive next year, but I still feel like they're going to decline.
Dude, I got pissed like a motherfucker. Let me tell you. It's crazy. But
you're doing good.
I'm doing good. I'm trying to hang in there. Absolutely. I appreciate it. Everybody that's sticking along with us, I definitely do. The Steelers, again, like you said, Dwayne Haskins, he's got to be on that list to where he's one of those guys in the first round that's kind of been, dude, you were there. Remember the Washington football team were like, we snuck and stole him away from the Giants. We've got him and this and this. He hasn't even started a goddamn game for really like the Steelers, anybody, and he's there and still a big question mark in the first round. At like what was it, 12th or 14th overall or something like that?
I don't remember.
A little bit after Daniel Jones. Like, really, dude? So, I mean, it's kind of funny how everybody's avoiding that whole situation there. But
well, he's only been there for 1 year.
Been there. Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Throughout the Washington system, but now the Steelers system, and now they're maybe confident in trying him out at the starting quarterback position. You're not. You talk about everybody that's demanded in the first round to be. Jimmy needs a bigger drink next time. You're talking about a guy that's demanded to start right away. That's what I mean. You're talking about these guys drafted in the first round. You got to start right away, right? This guy's been sitting behind, and you're still not sure.
The problem with
it's almost like the Jordan Love effect.
Well,
you got this guy, but he was drafted before Jordan Love.
Hold on.
You know what I'm saying?
The problem with that situation is that you got to remember he came out too early. He only had 1 year of experience as a starting college quarterback. He got drafted in the first round based on potential. And when you base it off of potential, there's no guarantees. So when he came to the Washington football team at the time, now the Commanders, they didn't want to rush him in, but then at the same time, because they had another quarterback there, I forgot who it was, and he got his chance, got hurt, left the game, and he missed several weeks. He came back in, started, didn't have a good outing, and for a few games in that season, he showed flashes, like very small flashes of wow, that was a nice throw. This was like he executed the plays right. But I don't think Washington was ever convinced in the little bit of time that he was with Washington that he was going to be their guy. Because something, I don't know if it was quarterbacks coach-wise or anything, but it just wasn't going to work out there. They just didn't like him. So when he went to the Steelers, I thought, like, okay, maybe new environment. He needs to learn the offense still. He's only been there a year, so maybe this offseason, if he can show something to Mike Tomlin that he understands fully the offense and everything, and maybe he can show something, maybe he becomes a starter. Who knows?
I don't know. Again, maybe it's me, again, just because I am not an Ohio State guy. I'm a Michigan guy, so I got really diss all the Ohio State type of dudes. But when you're drafted that high and you're not going to be starting and what you're doing, you're sitting behind a guy like Taylor Heineke, like you're bringing up, maybe joined in and jumped in for Washington football team. You got Ryan Fitzpatrick, which was expected to start this year for them and wasn't able to do it. That they were comfortable with moving on because, again, his type of work ethic maybe the issues that he had with the coaching staff. I'm not sure, but it's kind of, for me, suspicious that, again, you're drafted in the first round, and then there's still a question mark on whether you're worthy of starting or not.
And that's really because
maybe I do need another drink.
That's really because, listen, just like I said before, he came out too early. He was not ready to make that NFL jump, and he was still drafted anyways. So when you get a player like that, especially at quarterback, you got to develop him a lot longer. It's going to take longer time for him to get even close to, field ready. So, and especially at quarterback. So I just feel like he hasn't, when he was in Washington, never really was given a legitimate shot at that starting job. Yes, he got some playing time, and he started for pretty much 1 year. But he did show some flashes, and that was on a Washington team that didn't have weapons.
Well,
they had Scary Terry, but that's about it.
I know, I understand that. But again, when your highlight reel for your college tape is, especially as you can throw within windows that are like double covered, I don't exactly think that's a great attribute to have, that you're throwing into double coverage nonstop. I really don't think that's a great attribute. I don't think that's a great highlight to have.
I mean, only if the passes are completed.
Yeah, I guess so. But you do when you're constantly.
But
the
bottom line, we're staying too long on this topic.
I know.
The bottom line is that
Anyways,
he
we're
just
moving on.
needs further development.
Yeah, and the bottom line is I hate Dwayne Haskins. So there you go. Moving on to the Seattle Seahawks
Next.
here. All right, the Seattle Seahawks. I think their stock is low. I'm selling absolutely on this whole thing. Russell Wilson, they're telling us that no, he's happy, he's coming back, all this stuff. Pete Carroll stayed his welcome way too long. I think they've got to get a new, fresh coach in there. I think whatever they had with him is already stale. I mean, you're holding on to whatever you can at this point, and it's time to get something new. Yeah, it's time to get something new. You had what you had with the Legion of Boom. It's not there anymore. Russell Wilson is threatening now. It's time to just part ways. Tom Leiter says Pete Carroll won with 26 free agents. He was great when he knew the talent he recruited at USC, but he's missed drafting for several years. It might be time to move on. There you go. Exactly like I was just saying. It's time for him to move on. You've had your deal. It's done. Seattle, I'm ready for a fresh new face. I'm ready for a fresh new look. And maybe if you do that, then maybe that entices Russell Wilson to say, hey, maybe I'll stick around and see what you got moving on here now. But Russell Wilson, a tight commodity that a lot of other teams could have, that could use. And I tell you, value is still there because no matter whatever he does throughout the year, he's still an MVP consideration no matter what he does.
Yeah, and Seattle Seahawks are in that little bit of I guess it's a rebuild because you got uncertainty with Russell Wilson, what he wants to do. Sometimes some days he comes out and says, oh, no, I want to be part of this organization. I want to be here. I don't want to go anywhere. But then there's other times when he tweets it out and says, well, I need to find a new team. You know what I mean? It doesn't ask for a trade, but just kind of puts it out there like, oh, I think I want to leave. This team right now is going through a little bit of a change too. It looks like 36-year-old Dwayne Brown, their left tackle, is due to be a free agent. I don't know how much money it's going to keep him, but this offensive line was already bad before Dwayne Brown. If they have to lose him, then wow. I don't know why you would want to return if you're Russell Wilson. He didn't see enough improvement last year, and that was really the threat of him, like maybe trying to make a trade or something like that happen. But the Seattle Seahawks, like Pete Carroll as a head coach, he lost the team. I feel like this team once was really close, and now with the whole. What is Russell Wilson doing? Does he want to trade? Does he not want to trade? Pete Carroll points the finger and blames Russell Wilson like, hey, it's your fault. You need to do better. You need to do more. It's just you. I think that, the ship has sailed on this organization. I think they definitely need a change. New coaching staff, new way of thinking, and maybe, possibly, if they do that, maybe they can keep Russell Wilson there.
Yeah, I agree absolutely nonstop. All right, here we go. We've got the San Francisco 49ers. Again, for me, they've done what they've done throughout the running game, and the passing game is what it is. Deebo Samuel really proved this year that that was the heart and soul, the main situation for them moving forward. It ran all around him. That's the bottom line. So anything besides that is all up for games. So for me, the San Francisco 49ers, unless they are able to grab Aaron Rodgers, their stock for me has got to be downwards because they are who they are. I mean, I'm not really sold on anything with them. Still, Kyle Shanahan, I know a lot of people want to deem him as this great genius and all this other shit and whatever they want to do for him. You can only get so far with what you have. You know what I mean? You've been making do with what you do and what you have, but again, unless you have that franchise quarterback like Tom Leiter likes to bring back again, which they don't have, they're not going to make it.
We don't know what they have. They drafted Trey Lance.
Lot of whatever he can do.
They drafted Trey Lance last year in hopes of him being their franchise quarterback. He's been developing under Jimmy G and Kyle Shanahan. However, I feel like if there was any offense that was going to draft Trey Lance, it would have been this one because it utilizes more of a running style type of offense. and kind of like what Baltimore does with Lamar Jackson. Trey Lance was seen in college more as a mobile, a runner, not so much a pure passer of the ball. So look for the Niners to utilize that mobility that he has, along with their plethora of running backs, their running style and play action, and jet sweeps. So I don't know if Trey Lance is ready just yet. I feel like he needed another year to develop because just like we got on the topic of Dwayne Haskins, this is a quarterback that didn't play a lot. And when he did start for one season, he ran a hell of a lot of times. So I don't know what the Niners truly have in Trey Lance just yet, but we're going to find out. And if there's anything that we can take away from this is they are a really good football team. But with Trey Lance at the helm, there's a lot of question marks. How good can this offense be? So because of that uncertainty, I'm going to say that they're going to be trending downward unless they manage to pull off the Aaron Rodgers trade.
All right, now we move on to the
Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Good
job.
We have a few more left over. Joe, why don't you steer the ship once in a while? Let's just do it. Like, God damn it! I'm trying to get it going here, but Bucks make it easy because Tampa Bay they don't have Tom Brady anymore.
They don't.
Rob Gronkowski, he's thinking about moving on, but if he stays, he would love to play for the Bengals. And how much would the Bengals be trending upwards if all of a sudden you got Gronk on the other side now?
I don't think he would go to the Bengals.
But he's saying he would love to play with somebody like that, and that's what kind of shows you what with having that type of quarterback that you have and that kind of gusto moving forward, what that does for veterans like Rob Gronkowski. They will go to a team like that. They see you trending upwards at what you have and move forward. But right now, Tom Brady, he was able to get them to where they need to get. But Chris Godwin, you're a free agent. I don't see him coming back to Tampa Bay. They got to figure out what they're going to do with Mike Dickhead, whatever the frick his name, dude. I just can't stand him. So Mike Evans. They got to figure out what they're doing with him too. I think Tampa Bay, they're going to be trending downwards, and I think pretty soon they're going to be looking for a whole fresh new start. So I'm down on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Absolutely, they had their time to shine. They did what they did, and now they're out.
And this is why I think Tom Brady retired. This is why
they're done.
Is because he could see, the near future of one. They were able to get away with last offseason retaining, Shaq Barrett and keeping Chris Godwin on a tag and that type of thing for one last kind of run. And now this offseason is going to be much different. They don't have a lot of cap space. Chris Godwin, even if they had to tag him, that's 2 times in a row. That escalates big time, that salary. Don't think they're going to be able to afford to keep him unless they're able to work out a contract long term. But if you're Chris Godwin, just think about it. You don't really have a true quarterback anymore. Brady's gone, so why would you stay? Go somewhere where you have a better chance to become a bigger weapon with a better quarterback. So I look for him to kind of test the market. Jason Pierre-Paul, even at 33 years old, was having a pretty darn good career. He's due to be a free agent. Ryan Jensen, they're all-pro center.
Yeah.
He's gone. That's your captain of the offensive line. If you can't retain him, wow, this team is going to go through a big change. Mike Evans is still under contract, so he's stuck there. He can't go anywhere. Rob Gronkowski did mention that he may still want to continue playing, and if so, it's got to be with a good quarterback. It wouldn't be funny. It wouldn't be funny to me, or it wouldn't surprise me, I should say, if Rob Gronk returned to New England. It wouldn't faze me at all. I think it's one of those options that has to be out there, because knowing that Mac Jones and his success, if they were able to have Rob Gronkowski come back for even just one more year, I think he would be a big-time asset for the Patriots. Other than that, I make another Patriots high, and that's in Las Vegas. Josh McDaniels just got hired there. He utilizes, just like New England does, double tight end sets. What do they have there? They have Darren Waller. Imagine Waller and Rob Gronkowski together. Whew. That could be pretty scary. So those few players that we mentioned, other than the Ndamukong Suh, are going to be looking for a home. O.J. Howard, this guy has been so underutilized in Tampa that I wonder if he's like, I don't even want to sign with you guys. I'm gone. Richard Sherman, he might not get another job after this. And here's the crazy part that I'm just noticing is Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones II are both due to be free agents. So it looks like everybody on here might be ready to abandon ship and move on. So, yeah, definitely a declining team if they can't find an answer at quarterback.
All right, there you go. Down Tennessee Titans here. We got then the Washington football team. The Titans, Mike Vrabel gets the coach of the year for what he's able to do despite having the injury there with Derrick Henry and be gone for a lot of the season and coming back, but then faltering to a team like the Bengals. Man, how do you end up doing that? You have King Henry back, and then you end up losing that game. It blew my mind during that whole situation here. But the Titans, I still think they have some kind of insight to what they can do, but it all falls on what Brian